The bedroom was dark except for the faint glow from Jessica's phone screen. I lay still, breathing deeply and evenly, maintaining the illusion of sleep I perfected over the past few months. It started as insomnia, stress from the startup keeping me awake, but somewhere along the way, I discovered that my wife became remarkably honest when she thought I was unconscious. "I know, Megan, I know," Jessica whispered into her phone, her voice carrying clearly in the quiet room. Just a little longer. I kept my breathing steady, resisting the urge to turn over. Through barely opened eyes, I could see her silhouette against the window, pacing in her silk pajamas, the ones I bought her for our 5th anniversary last year. "His startup is failing," she continued, and I felt my chest tighten. "The investors pulled out last month. He's been pretending everything's fine, but I saw the emails. He's got maybe 4 weeks of runway left, tops." My mind raced. She'd been going through my emails. The investor situation was complicated, yes, but far from what she was describing. I'd been careful to keep the real status of NeuroSync under wraps, even from her. Apparently, not careful enough. "I'll divorce him next month," Jessica said, her tone as casual as if she were discussing dinner plans. "After the company officially folds. My lawyer says I can take half of everything, the house, the savings, even any intellectual property from the startup since we're in a community property state." I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from reacting. 5 years of marriage reduced to a calculated timeline based on my perceived failure. "Of course I'm staying until then," she laughed softly, a sound that used to make me smile. "If I leave now, I get nothing. But if I wait until after the bankruptcy, I'm entitled to half the debt too. Better to let him sink the ship completely, than take what's salvageable." She paused, listening to her sister's response. "No, he has no idea. Nathan's too wrapped up in his failing company to notice anything. Yesterday he was excited about some breakthrough with the algorithm. As if that matters when you can't pay your engineers. The algorithm breakthrough, the one I'd worked 70 hours straight to achieve, the one that had caught the attention off. "I've already been apartment hunting," Jessica continued. "Found a cute place in Marina del Rey. Ocean view, gym in the building. Derek from my yoga class knows the landlord." Derek. I'd met him once at a studio event. Tall trust fund type who'd inherited his father's real estate portfolio. He'd spent the entire evening staring at my wife while I made awkward small talk about market volatility. "No, Derek's just a friend helping out," Jessica said, but her giggle suggested otherwise. "Though he did say he's impressed by how I'm handling such a difficult situation. He actually asked if I wanted to get drinks next week to discuss investment opportunities." I remained perfectly still, years of all-nighters training me to control my body despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Let her talk. Let her reveal everything. "The prenup?" She scoffed. "Nathan was so in love he barely read it. My lawyer found at least 3 loopholes. Besides, California law is very generous to spouses who supported their partner's business ventures. And I've been so supportive, haven't I? Going to all those boring tech events, pretending to care about neural networks and machine learning. Those boring tech events where she'd networked relentlessly, charming investors and partners. I thought she was being a supported spouse. Turns out she was building her exit strategy. 6 months from now, I'll be single, debt-free, and sitting on enough money to start fresh. Maybe I'll finally take that trip to Bali. Derek mentioned he has a house there. Of course he did. "I should go," Jessica whispered. "Nathan sometimes wakes up around 3 to check his emails. Can't have him catching me planning his demise." She laughed again. "Love you too, sis. Talk tomorrow." I heard her set the phone down and felt the mattress shift as she slid back into bed. Within minutes, her breathing had evened out into sleep. Meanwhile, I lay awake, processing what I'd heard. The irony was almost funny. 3 hours ago, I'd received the call I'd been waiting 18 months for. Tomorrow morning, the tech world would wake up to the news that NeuroSync had been acquired by Prometheus Technologies for $50 million. The contracts were signed, the press release drafted, the funds ready to wire. But Jessica didn't know that, because I'd been planning too. I carefully reached for my phone from the nightstand, making sure to keep my movements slow and natural. Opening my messages, I typed a single text to my lawyer, Richard Stern. "Execute Plan B file at 8 a.m. sharp." His response came quickly, despite the late hour. "Understood. Everything is prepared." I'd hired Richard 6 months ago when I first started noticing discrepancies. Small things at first. Jessica's sudden interest in our financial accounts, her probing questions about company valuations, the way she casually mentioned that her friend's divorce had been surprisingly lucrative. Then I discovered she'd been photographing my documents, had hired a forensic accountant to analyze our assets, and had met with a divorce attorney 4 times in the past 2 months. So I prepared. Quietly, carefully, the same way I built NeuralSync from a garage startup to an AI powerhouse. The next morning came too quickly. Jessica was already in the kitchen when I came downstairs, dressed in her tennis outfit and scrolling through her phone. She glanced up with a practiced smile. "Morning, honey. How'd you sleep?" "Like the dead," I replied, pouring myself coffee. "Big day today." She barely looked up. "Another investor meeting?" "Something like that." My phone buzzed. A text from Maya Patel, Prometheus's CEO. "Embargo lifts in 30 minutes. Congratulations again, Nathan. You've built something special." 28 minutes. "I might be late tonight," Jessica said, gathering her gym bag. "Megan wants to go shopping after my tennis lesson." "No problem. I'll probably be at the office late anyway." She paused at the door, and for a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Regret? But then it was gone, replaced by that perfect smile. "Don't work too hard, honey. You know what they say about flogging a dead horse." And then she was gone. 20 minutes. I sat at our kitchen table, the one we bought together at a flea market when we could barely afford groceries, and waited. My phone lit up with messages from my team, all of them sworn to secrecy until the announcement. "Can't believe we pulled it off." James, my CTO. "Drinks are on you for life." Sarah, lead engineer. "Thank you for believing in us." Kumar, my co-founder. 10 minutes. I pulled up the divorce papers Richard had prepared. Clean, simple, based on the actual terms of our prenup. The one Jessica thought she'd found loopholes in. What she didn't know was that I'd had those loopholes reviewed by 3 different lawyers. They were airtight. 5 minutes. My phone rang. "Richard. Papers have been filed," he said. "Process server will meet her at the tennis club in approximately 1 hour. Also, I've executed the asset protection strategies we discussed. The acquisition funds will be properly sheltered. And the intellectual property, ironclad. NeuralSync's patents and algorithms were developed before marriage and improved with documented non-marital funds. She has no claim." 2 minutes. I switched to Twitter, watching the tech journalists I knew were about to break the story. My heart was pounding, but not from anxiety, from anticipation. 1 minute. Jessica's phone would start blowing up soon. Her sister Megan would probably see it first. She was addicted to tech gossip. Then the friends who knew she was married to that startup guy. Then Derek, who would suddenly realize the woman he was circling was about to become very, very single and very, very not rich. 0. The news broke like a dam bursting. Breaking. AI startup NeuralSync acquired by Prometheus Technologies for $50 million. Stealth mode success. How NeuralSync quietly became the hottest AI company in Silicon Valley. From garage to glory, Nathan Chen's NeuralSync acquisition stuns tech world. My phone exploded with notifications. Congratulations, interview requests, messages from old friends and distant relatives. I ignored them all, waiting for the one call I knew would come. It took exactly 12 minutes. "Nathan." Jessica's voice was shrill, panicked. "What is this? What's happening?" My phone is going crazy. "Of the acquisition," I said calmly. "Yeah, we finalized it yesterday. Didn't I mention it?" $50 million? Nathan, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm coming home right now. We need to celebrate. I'll cancel with Megan and... Actually, I interrupted, you might want to stay at the club. Richard Stern will be serving you divorce papers in about 40 minutes. Silence. Complete, beautiful silence. What? Her voice was small, confused. I'm filing for divorce, Jessica. Irreconcilable differences. Though I could probably add fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy if you prefer. Nathan, I don't understand. We're happy. Where? Planning to divorce me next month after my startup fails? I suggested, taking half of everything. Already apartment hunting in Marina Del Rey. Ring any bells? The silence stretched longer this time. How did you know? The same way I built a $50 million company, by paying attention to details, by being smarter than people assumed, by planning ahead. Nathan, please let me explain. It's not what you think. Megan was going through a rough patch and I was just playing along with her fantasy. I would never. Stop. My voice was firm but calm. I have recordings, Jessica. Legal ones from our security system. I have screenshots of your texts to Derek. I have receipts from your meetings with divorce lawyers. I have evidence of you photographing confidential company documents. Those recordings can't be legal. Single-party consent state, and they were taken in common areas of my house. Very legal. Very admissible. Her breathing was ragged now. The prenup, my lawyer said. Your lawyer was wrong. The prenup is solid. You get what you brought into the marriage, which, if I recall correctly, was about $3,000 and a 2012 Honda Civic. You're entitled to no alimony, no equity in the company, and no community property beyond items purchased jointly during the marriage. This is insane. I supported you. I stood by you through everything. Did you? Or were you building an exit strategy the moment things looked difficult? Tell me, Jessica, when exactly did you stop loving me? Was it when the series of funding fell through? When I mortgaged the house to keep the company afloat? Or was it earlier than that? She was crying now. Real tears or performed ones? I couldn't tell anymore. Didn't care. I want you out of the house by tonight, I continued. You can take your clothes, your jewelry, and yes, the Honda. Richard will send you a complete list of what you're entitled to. It's more than you deserve but less than you plan to steal. Nathan, please, we can work this out. Couples therapy. Anything. That money, we could start fresh. Travel the world. Buy a bigger house. Have the life we always dreamed of. The life you dreamed of, I corrected. My dreams were never about money. They were about building something meaningful. About having a partner who believed in me even when things were impossible. About love that wasn't conditional on my net worth. I do love you. No, Jessica, you love the idea of me, the successful tech entrepreneur, the potential millionaire. But when you thought I was failing, you were already in bed with someone else, at least emotionally, if not physically. Derek is just a friend. Derek is your backup plan. Well, congratulations. He's been promoted to primary. Though I doubt he'll be as interested now that you're not getting half of $50 million. More silence. I could picture her standing at the tennis club, probably in the parking lot, her perfect world crumbling around her designer shoes. You're making a mistake, she finally said, her voice hard now. I'll fight this. I'll take you for everything. With what money? Your lawyer required a $20,000 retainer, which you paid from our joint account. That account is now frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Your credit cards, all in my name, have been canceled. Your car is in my name too, actually, but I'm feeling generous. Consider it a parting gift. You can't do this. It's already done. Oh, and Jessica, that apartment in Marina Del Rey? The landlord is a NeuroSync investor. He was very interested to hear about your plans. Something about not wanting tenants of questionable character. The call ended. She didn't say goodbye. Neither did I. I sat in my kitchen, in the house I'd almost lost 6 months ago, while scrambling to keep my company alive. The same house Jessica had secretly photographed for her divorce lawyer, measuring square footage and documenting assets. My phone continued buzzing. Kumar texted, "Celebration dinner tonight?" Team's asking. I typed back, "Absolutely, but first, I need to do something." An hour later, I stood in the garage where NeuroSync was born. The whiteboards were still there, covered in equations and diagrams that had become the foundation of our technology. The folding table I'd use as my first desk. The sleeping bag in the corner from nights when I couldn't afford to waste time driving home. This was what Jessica never understood. It was never about the money. It was about the 12-hour days solving impossible problems. The thrill of breakthrough. The loyalty of a team that believed in something bigger than themselves. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Derek. I just wanted you to know I had no idea about any of this. I'm sorry, man. For what it's worth, you deserve better." I deleted it without responding. Another text, this one from Richard. "Papers served." She wasn't happy. Threw her green juice at the process server. He's adding assault charges. I couldn't help but laugh. The perfect tennis wife throwing organic smoothies in a country club parking lot. Sometimes reality was better than fiction. That evening, I met my team at our usual dive bar. The same place we drowned our sorrows after every failed funding round, celebrated every small victory, and dreamed about what success might look like. To Neurosync, Kumar raised his beer, and to Nathan, who never gave up, even when giving up would have been the smart move. We clinked glasses. Sarah leaned over. Heard about Jessica. You okay? Better than okay, I said, and meant it. For the first time in months, I feel like myself again. She was always too. James searched for the right word. Calculating, I suggested. I was going to say shiny, but yeah, that works too. We laughed, and I felt the weight of the last year lifting. The late nights wondering if Jessica's declining affection was my fault. The guilt over working too much, earning too little, risking too much. The constant feeling that I was failing as a husband while trying to succeed as an entrepreneur. You know what the best part is? I said, looking around at my team, my real family. She thought she was getting half of nothing. She had no idea what we built here, no understanding of what this technology could do. She saw numbers on a spreadsheet, not the revolution we're creating. Her loss, Maya said, appearing at our table with a bottle of champagne that cost more than my first car. Mind if I join the celebration? Pull up a chair, I grinned. But you're buying the next round. As the night went on, my phone lit up with messages. Former investors who'd passed on Neurosync wanting to congratulate me. Tech reporters angling for exclusive interviews. My parents who'd never quite understood what I did but were proud nonetheless. And buried in the flood of notifications, a final text from Jessica. I loved who you could have been. I stared at it for a moment, then typed back. I became who I was meant to be. You just weren't paying attention. Then I blocked her number and rejoined my team. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and paperwork and the complicated process of untangling 5 years of marriage. But tonight was for celebration. Not for the money, the financial security was nice. Not for the vindication, though proving doubters wrong had its satisfaction, but for the simple fact that I built something meaningful with people who believed in the vision, not the valuation. Jessica had been right about one thing. I was married to my startup. But unlike our marriage, that relationship was built on trust, mutual respect, and shared dreams, and worth every penny of $50 million. The epilogue came 6 months later. The divorce was finalized with Jessica getting exactly what the prenup specified. Derek, predictably, had disappeared from her life within weeks of realizing she wasn't getting a windfall. The last I heard, she was working as a receptionist at her lawyer's office, having burned through her savings on legal fees for a battle she couldn't win. I ran into Megan at a coffee shop near my new office. She looked uncomfortable, clutching her locket like a shield. Nathan, I'm sorry. About everything. I didn't know she was so calculating, I offered. She nodded. I thought she loved you, really loved you. Maybe she did once, before the idea of money became more attractive than the reality of marriage. Megan shifted awkwardly. For what it's worth, she regrets it. Calls me crying almost every night. Regrets getting caught or regrets losing the money. Her silence was answer enough. As I left the coffee shop, I felt the vibration of my phone. A message from my new girlfriend, a pediatric surgeon who didn't care about tech valuations and thought my excitement over algorithm optimization was adorably nerdy. Dinner at 7, she texted. Fair warning. I might be late. Complicated surgery this afternoon. Take your time, I typed back. Saving lives is slightly more important than pasta. This is why I like you, you get it. I smiled, walking toward my Tesla, a small indulgence I'd allowed myself post-acquisition. Jessica would have wanted a Lamborghini, something flashy and attention-grabbing. But I'd learned the hard way that the best things in life, real love, true success, lasting happiness, didn't need to announce themselves. They just needed to be genuine. And that, as it turned out, was worth far more than $50 million.
I never thought I'd be the woman who discovers her husband wants her dead. But there I was, gripping my steering wheel, my heartbeat drowning out the rain, hammering my windshield, while the truck behind me inched closer. The headlights blinded me through my rearview mirror. Too bright, too close. My knuckles whitened as I navigated the slick mountain road, each hairpin turn revealing another stretch of darkness. The truck stayed on me like a predator, close enough that I couldn't see its license plate. "Just pass me already," I muttered, easing toward the narrow shoulder to let them by. They didn't pass. Instead, the truck accelerated, its grille suddenly filling my mirror. The impact came with a sickening crunch of metal. My car lurched forward, tires losing their grip on the wet asphalt. I screamed as my sedan smashed through the guardrail and plummeted down the embankment. The world spun, glass shattered. Pain exploded across my chest as the airbag deployed. Then darkness. I woke to the hiss of rain on crumpled metal and the copper taste of blood in my mouth. My car rested at an impossible angle against a tree, 20 feet down the slope. Above, through the shattered window, I could see the gap in the guardrail where I'd gone through. No sign of the truck. My phone had fallen somewhere in the wreckage. With trembling fingers, I unbuckled my seatbelt and nearly collapsed onto the driver's side door. Every movement sent shards of pain through my ribs. I found my phone wedged under the seat, screen miraculously intact. "Lindsay? Jesus Christ, are you okay?" Lance's voice crackled through the speaker when he picked up. "Someone ran me off the road," I choked out. "The mountain pass near Ridgeline. I need help." "Don't move. I'm calling 911 right now. I'll be there as fast as I can." By the time they pulled me from the wreckage, my body was one massive bruise. The paramedics strapped me to a backboard while a police officer took notes about the truck that had disappeared into the night. "Probably a drunk driver," he suggested, but something about his dismissive tone made my skin crawl. Lance arrived as they loaded me into the ambulance, his face pale with worry. He climbed in beside me, clutching my hand like I might slip away. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered, pressing his lips to my bruised knuckles. At the hospital, they confirmed 3 cracked ribs, a mild concussion, and enough bruising to make movement torture. Lance never left my side, fetching ice chips and adjusting my pillows with the attentiveness that had made me fall in love with him 8 years ago. "You need anything else?" he asked, smoothing my hair back from my forehead. "Just sleep," I murmured, the pain medication making my thoughts fuzzy. "I'll be right here." He settled into the chair beside my bed. I drifted off to the steady beep of monitors and Lance's warm hand in mine. Something woke me hours later. The hospital room was dark except for the glow of monitors. Lance was gone, but I could hear his voice in the hallway. I reached for the water cup on my bedside table and knocked it to the floor with clumsy fingers. "Wasn't supposed to happen like this," Lance was saying, his voice low and urgent. "The whole point was to make it look like an accident." I froze, cup forgotten on the floor. "She survived," a man's voice responded. "We need to regroup. The insurance policy is ironclad. $3 million if she dies accidentally. Nothing if it looks suspicious." The words hit me like another truck. My husband, my Lance. The man who'd held my hand in the ambulance, who'd promised to love me forever, was discussing my death like a business transaction. "We stick to the plan," Lance continued. "She trusts me completely. That's our advantage. And if she suspects something?" "She won't. Lindsay sees what she wants to see. Always has." I pressed a hand to my mouth to stifle the sound, trying to escape my throat. Not a scream. Not a sob. Something primal and wounded that would give me away. "The medication they've got her on will make her confused," Lance said. "If she remembers anything about the truck, I'll convince her it was her imagination. Post-traumatic stress. Just make sure it's done before the quarterly audit. We can't risk her finding those transfers." 2 weeks, 3 at most. Their voices faded down the hallway. I lay perfectly still, tears streaming silently into my hair. The man I'd built my life with had tried to kill me tonight, and he was planning to try again. When Lance returned 10 minutes later, I kept my breathing deep and even, my eyes closed. I felt his weight settle into the chair beside me. His hand found mine again, squeezing gently. "I'm sorry it has to be this way," he whispered, thinking I was asleep. Behind my closed eyelids, something hardened in me. Lance didn't know it yet, but he'd just made the worst mistake of his life. He'd failed to kill me, and now he'd given me something far more dangerous than grief. He'd given me warning. I spent the next 3 days in the hospital playing the role of grateful wife. Every time Lance brought me flowers or adjusted my pillows, bile rose in my throat. His fingers brushing mine felt like spiders crawling across my skin, but I smiled. I thanked him. I pretended I didn't know he wanted me in a coffin instead of a hospital bed. "The doctor says you can come home tomorrow," Lance said on the third morning, setting a paper cup of terrible hospital coffee on my tray. "I've already set up the guest bedroom downstairs, so you won't have to manage the stairs." How thoughtful of him to prepare a room where I'd be isolated from the rest of the house, where a pillow over my face wouldn't be heard by anyone. "That's sweet," I said, reaching for the coffee. My hand trembled. Not entirely an act, but I think I'd rather be in our bedroom. "I'll sleep better with you nearby." Something flickered behind his eyes. Annoyance? Panic? He recovered quickly, squeezing my shoulder. "Whatever makes you comfortable, babe." The endearment made my skin crawl. "Actually," I said, setting down the untouched coffee, "there's something I need to ask you." "Anything." That night, on the road, I let my voice waver. "I keep having these flashes. The truck that hit me, it felt like it was targeting me specifically, not just a drunk driver." Lance's expression shifted to concern so perfect, it would have fooled me a week ago. The trauma can cause all kinds of confusion. The police report said it was likely a drunk driver who panicked and fled. "But what if it wasn't?" I pressed, watching him carefully. "What if someone wanted to hurt me?" He sat on the edge of my bed, taking my hand in both of his. "Lindsay, who would want to hurt you?" The audacity of the question made me want to scream. Instead, I looked down at our joined hands and whispered, "I don't know. That's what scares me." "Hey." He tilted my chin up. "You're safe now. I won't let anything happen to you. Except orchestrate my murder." "I love you," I lied, the words tasting like ash. That night, after Lance left for home, I called Alea. My best friend since law school arrived 20 minutes later with contraband chocolate and fierce determination in her eyes. "Jesus, Lindsay," she gasped, taking in my bruised face. "You look like you went 10 rounds with a heavyweight." "You should see the car." I attempted a smile, but it faltered. "I need to tell you something, and you can't react loudly." Her expression sobered instantly. "What's wrong?" I told her everything, the crash, waking up, overhearing Lance's conversation. With each word, Alea's face darkened like a gathering storm. "That motherfucking—" "Shh." I grabbed her wrist. "I need you to help me, not murder him in the hospital parking lot." "That can be plan B," she muttered, but lowered her voice. "What do you need?" "First, I need somewhere to go after I'm discharged. Somewhere Lance won't think to look." "My place, obviously." I shook my head. "That's the first place he'd check. I need to disappear while I figure out what he's up to." "What about your firm's corporate apartment? The one they keep for clients?" It wasn't perfect, but it would work. "I'll need access to our home office too. Lance mentioned something about transfers that I might find during an audit." "You think he's stealing from you?" "I don't know what he's doing, but I'm going to find out." The next morning, I went home with Lance. The familiar walls of our craftsman-style house felt like a prison now. Every corner held memories I couldn't trust anymore. 8 years of marriage, reduced to a lie. "Let me help you upstairs," Lance said, reaching for my elbow. I flinched away instinctively, then covered it with a wince. "Sorry, still sore." His smile tightened. "Of course." That night, I lay beside him in our bed, listening to his breathing deepen into sleep. When I was certain he wouldn't wake, I eased out from under the covers. Each movement sent pain shooting through my ribs, but I bit my lip and kept going. Our home office was at the end of the hall. I closed the door silently behind me and powered on my laptop. If Lance was hiding financial documents, they'd be password protected. But after 8 years together, I knew all his passwords, or thought I did. His usual combination failed, so did his backup. Frustrated, I tried combinations of our anniversary, his birthday, his mother's maiden name. Nothing worked. Then I tried Kingsley, his business partner's name. The screen unlocked. My hands shook as I navigated through folders. Most contained the expected files for their property development company, but one folder, labeled simply escrow, caught my attention. Inside were wire transfer records, massive sums moving between accounts I didn't recognize. "What are you doing?" I jumped, slamming the laptop closed. Lance stood in the doorway, his silhouette menacing in the darkness. "I couldn't sleep," I said, heart hammering. "Thought I'd check work emails." He stepped into the room, and I fought the urge to back away. "At 3 in the morning, with my laptop?" "I grabbed the wrong one in the dark." The lie sounded pathetic, even to my ears. Lance moved closer, his expression unreadable in the dim light from the hallway. "What did you see?" "Nothing," I said too quickly. "Just the login screen." His hand shot out, gripping my wrist hard enough to bruise. "Don't lie to me, Lindsay. What did you see?" In that moment, the pretense between us shattered. The man I'd married was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. Someone capable of planning my death for money. "Let go of me," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. His grip tightened. "Answer the question." "I saw enough," I whispered, meeting his eyes. I saw enough to know my accident wasn't an accident at all. Lance's eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. "You're confused. The medication." "Stop!" I twisted my wrist free. "I heard you in the hospital, talking about making my death look like an accident, about insurance money." For a heartbeat, he seemed genuinely shocked. Then his expression hardened into something I'd never seen before. Calculation replacing the mask of concern he'd worn for days. "You misunderstood," he said, voice eerily calm. "I was discussing a client's insurance policy with Kingsley. At 3 in the morning? In my hospital room?" I backed toward the door. "Do you think I'm stupid?" "I think you're traumatized and jumping to insane conclusions." He stepped closer, blocking my exit. "Listen to yourself, Lindsay. You're accusing your husband of trying to kill you." "Because you did." My voice cracked. "That truck didn't appear out of nowhere. You arranged it." His laugh was cold. "This is absurd. You need help. What I need is to get away from you." I tried to push past him, but he caught my arm. "You're not going anywhere." His fingers dug into my bruised skin. "Not until you calm down." Fear shot through me, but beneath it, something else was building, rage. This man had shared my bed, my life, my trust, and he'd tried to end me for money. I drove my knee upward, catching him between the legs. He doubled over with a strangled cry, and I shoved past him, ignoring the screaming pain in my ribs. "You bitch!" he gasped behind me. I grabbed my phone and purse from our bedroom and fled down the stairs, each step jarring my injured body. I could hear him recovering, following. My car keys were in the bowl by the front door. I snatched them and stumbled outside into the cold night air. Lance appeared in the doorway as I backed my car down the driveway. His face, illuminated by the porch light, was contorted with fury. I'd never seen that expression before, but now I wondered if it had always been there, hidden beneath the charm. I drove straight to Alea's apartment, calling her on the way. "He knows," I said when she answered. I confronted him. "I'm coming to you." 20 minutes later, I sat on Alice's couch while she paced her living room, a baseball bat propped against the wall. "Just in case." "We need to call the police," she insisted. "And tell them what? That I overheard a conversation? That my husband has files I don't understand?" I shook my head. "I need evidence before I do anything. He tried to kill you. And I need to prove it." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling Sage." Sage had been my mentor when I first joined the firm. Now a senior partner, she specialized in financial crimes, exactly what I suspected Lance of committing. "Lindsay?" Her voice was thick with sleep when she answered. "It's 4 in the morning." "I know, I'm sorry. But I need your help, and it can't wait." By sunrise, I was in Sage's office downtown, surrounded by stacks of financial documents I'd pulled from our home safe before leaving. Sage studied them through her reading glasses, her expression growing grimmer by the minute. "These transfers," she said, tapping a statement. "They're structured to avoid detection. Small enough to fly under regulatory radar, but they add up to millions." "Lance's company handles property development deals," I said. "Could it be legitimate?" She gave me a look that made me feel like a first-year associate again. Legitimate businesses don't need to hide their transactions. This has all the hallmarks of money laundering. My stomach dropped. So he's not just trying to kill me for insurance money. He's protecting something bigger. Much bigger. Sage removed her glasses. "Lindsay, if what you're telling me is true, you're in serious danger. Lance won't stop coming after you." I know." I rubbed my temples. "But I can't just disappear. My whole life is here, my career, my friends." "Then you need leverage." She leaned forward. "Something that makes you more valuable, alive than dead." I thought about the laptop, the files I'd glimpsed. "The evidence is in his computer, and in whatever audit he's worried about me conducting." "The quarterly compliance audit," Sage nodded. "It's scheduled for next week. Your department handles it." "I'm supposed to be on medical leave." Perfect cover. You can access everything without raising suspicion." She squeezed my hand. "But you can't go home. Not until this is resolved." "I'll use the firm's apartment," I said. "No one knows about it except the partners." Alea arrived with coffee and a change of clothes. Her eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep, but her voice was steady. "Lance called me 3 times looking for you. I told him I hadn't heard from you." "He didn't believe you." "Probably not." She handed me a coffee. "But he can't prove otherwise." My phone buzzed with a text from Lance. "We need to talk. Please come home. I'm worried about you." I showed it to Alea, who snorted. "Worried about his plan falling apart, more like." Another text arrived. "I understand you're confused and scared. Let me explain everything. I love you." "He's trying to gaslight you," Sage said, reading over my shoulder. "Classic abuser tactic." I typed a response. "I need time to think. I'm safe. Please don't contact me for a while." His reply was immediate. "Where are you? I'll come to you." I turned off my phone. "What now?" Alea asked. I stared at the financial documents spread across Sage's desk. Now I become the best damn forensic accountant this firm has ever seen. Lance thinks I'm a problem to eliminate. I'm about to become his worst nightmare. My phone lit up again. Not Lance this time, but Kingsley. The message chilled me to the bone. "Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. For your own safety, stop digging." I stared at Kingsley's message until Alice snatched the phone from my hands. "That manipulative bastard," she hissed after reading it. "He's trying to scare you off." "It's working," I admitted, my hands trembling. "If Kingsley's involved too, they have resources, connections. They could—" "Stop." Sage's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. "This is exactly what they want. Fear paralyzes. We need you thinking clearly." She was right. I took a deep breath, wincing at the pain in my ribs. "I need to talk to Kingsley, face to face." "Absolutely not," Alea protested. "In a public place," I clarified. "Somewhere they can't touch me." Sage considered this. "It could work to our advantage. Keep him talking while we gather evidence." 3 hours later, I sat at a corner table in Meridian, the upscale restaurant where the firm often entertained clients. My bruised face had drawn concerned looks from the hostess, but I'd blamed it on my accident with a tight smile. The lunch crowd provided the perfect cover, witnesses everywhere, including 2 associates from my firm at a nearby table. Kingsley arrived precisely on time, immaculate in his tailored suit. His expression betrayed nothing as he slid into the seat across from me. "Lindsay," he nodded, signaling for the waiter. "You're looking, well, considering." "Cut the crap, Kingsley." I leaned forward. "I know what you and Lance are doing." He ordered a scotch, neat, before responding. "And what exactly do you think we're doing?" "Money laundering through your development projects. and planning my convenient accident to collect insurance money. His face remained impassive, but I caught the slight tightening around his eyes. That's quite an accusation. Based on what? A conversation you overheard while heavily medicated? Based on the transfers I found, the ones structured to avoid detection. I took a calculated risk. The ones I've already copied and secured. The waiter returned with Kingsley's scotch. He took a slow sip, studying me over the rim of his glass. Lance said you might have seen some files. Files you misunderstood. Ha, I understand enough. Do you? He set down his glass. Do you understand that some very powerful people are involved in our business dealings? People who wouldn't appreciate scrutiny? The threat wasn't subtle. I forced myself not to flinch. Is that why you tried to kill me? Because I might notice discrepancies during the quarterly audit? Something flickered across his face. Surprise? Lindsay, I had nothing to do with your accident. But you know it wasn't an accident. He didn't deny it. Instead, he leaned closer. Lance has made some questionable decisions recently, decisions I advised against. Like murdering his wife? Like involving his wife in the first place? Kingsley's voice dropped lower. The insurance policy was his idea, a contingency plan he called it. My stomach twisted. So you're throwing Lance under the bus to save yourself? I'm trying to help you understand the situation before you do something that can't be undone. He glanced around the restaurant. These people Lance is involved with, they don't allow loose ends. People like you? People far more dangerous than me. He finished his scotch. Walk away, Lindsay. Take a settlement from Lance, sign an NDA, and disappear. It's the only way this ends well for you. And if I don't? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Then I can't protect you. I don't need your protection, I said, though my heart hammered against my bruised ribs. I need the truth. Kingsley stood, buttoning his jacket. The truth is rarely simple and never free. Ask yourself what it's worth to you. He left me sitting alone, my untouched water glass sweating onto the tablecloth. Back at the firm's apartment, I paced the living room while Alea and Sage processed what I'd learned. Kingsley's trying to distance himself, Sage concluded. Classic self-preservation. But he confirmed Lance planned to kill you, Alea added. That's something we can use. I shook my head. It's still just hearsay. We need concrete evidence. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your email. K. I opened my work email to find a message from an anonymous account. The attachment was a PDF. Bank statements showing transfers from an offshore account to a shell company I recognized from Lance's files. Is Kingsley helping us? Alea peered over my shoulder. Or setting a trap, Sage warned. This could be his insurance policy against Lance. If things go south, he has proof he cooperated. I forwarded the email to Sage's secure server. Either way, it's more than we had before. It's still not enough, Sage said. We need the complete paper trail, and we need to know who these dangerous people are. A knock at the door froze us all. Alea grabbed a kitchen knife while Sage peered through the peephole. It's Daria, she said, surprised. Daria Ferguson was the last person I expected to see. My colleague at the firm was more competitor than friend. Our relationship professional, but cool. She stepped inside, her sharp eyes taking in my bruised face and disheveled appearance. I heard you were on medical leave, she said without preamble. Then I saw you with Kingsley at Meridian. Are you following me? I demanded. No. She placed a flash drive on the coffee table. But I've been following Lance and Kingsley for months. We all stared at the tiny device. What is this? I finally asked. Evidence. Daria's expression was grim. I'm on the compliance team for the quarterly audit. 3 months ago, I noticed irregularities in accounts connected to their development company. I've been building a case ever since. Why are you giving this to me? Because someone tried to break into my apartment last night. Her voice was steady, but I saw fear in her eyes. And because you deserve to know what your husband is really involved in. I picked up the flash drive, suddenly aware that I was holding something people might kill for. It's not just money laundering, Daria said quietly. It's much worse. We gathered around my laptop as Daria opened files from the flash drive. What I saw made my blood run cold. Human trafficking, Seiji whispered, scrolling through documents showing young women brought in as hospitality staff for Lance and Kingsley's luxury developments. They're using the properties as fronts, Daria explained. The money laundering supports it, but the real profit comes from trafficking women through their international investment seminars. My stomach heaved. The development company Lance had built over the last 5 years, the business I'd helped him establish with my legal expertise and connections, was a criminal enterprise, and I'd never suspected a thing. There's more, Daria said, opening another folder. These are communications between Lance and someone called Dalton. They discuss your accident specifically. I stared at the screen, reading messages dated just days before my crash. Dalton, everything set for Thursday night? Lance, yes. Mountain Road after her dinner meeting. Clean and quick. Dalton, price is $50K. Half now, half when it's done. Lance, already transferred. Make it look like an accident. Dalton Moore, I breathed. The name hit me like another car crash. I know him. 3 pairs of eyes turned to me. We dated in law school, before I met Lance. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. It ended badly. How badly? Alea asked. He became obsessive, followed me, threatened me. I swallowed hard. I had to get a restraining order. And Lance hired him to kill you? Seiji looked incredulous. That's beyond twisted. It's personal, I realized. Lance didn't just want me dead for money. He wanted to use someone from my past, someone who already hated me. The room fell silent as the full weight of the betrayal sank in. My husband hadn't just planned my murder. He'd crafted it as a perverse form of poetic justice. We need to go to the FBI, Seiji said finally. This is federal-level crime. Not yet, I countered. These files are copies. We need originals, server access, something that can't be denied. And we need to move you somewhere safer, Alea added. If they realize Daria has shared this information. My place isn't safe either, Daria interrupted. I've booked a hotel room under a colleague's name. I rubbed my temples, trying to think through the fog of pain and betrayal. The quarterly audit is in 3 days. That's our chance to access everything officially. You can't seriously be planning to go into the office, Alea protested. It's the perfect cover. Everyone knows I'm a workaholic. No one will question me coming in despite my injuries. It's too dangerous, Seg argued. It's our best shot, I insisted. I'll go in, access the servers through the compliance portal, and download everything we need. Before anyone could object further, my phone rang. Lance's name flashed on the screen. Don't answer it, Alea warned. I have to. If I keep avoiding him, he'll get suspicious. I took a deep breath and put the phone on speaker. Hello? Lindsay, thank God. Lance's voice oozed relief. I've been worried sick. Where are you? Somewhere safe. I kept my tone neutral. I needed space to think. Baby, please come home. Whatever you think you heard or saw, we can work through it. I'm not ready to talk yet. Is this about the files on my laptop? His voice hardened slightly. Those are complex business matters. You're misinterpreting them. Maybe, I lied. That's why I need time. Time for what? To talk to people who don't understand our business? To make accusations that could damage everything we've built? The "we" made me want to scream. I dug my nails into my palm. I haven't talked to anyone. Then why was Kingsley texting me about your lunch meeting? My blood froze. I shot a panicked look at the others. I ran into him at Meridian, I said carefully. He approached me. And Daria? Did she approach you too? Daria's eyes widened in alarm. What are you talking about? I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. Don't play dumb, Lindsay. The firm's security system logs everyone who accesses the apartment. Daria's keycard was used 2 hours ago. I'd forgotten about the security logs. A rookie mistake that could get us all killed. Lance, You have until tomorrow to come home. He cut me off. After that, I can't guarantee your safety, or the safety of anyone helping you. The line went dead. He's bluffing, Alice said, but her voice wavered. No, he's not. I stood up, ignoring the pain shooting through my body. We need to move, now. We packed essentials in silence, the weight of Lance's threat hanging over us. As Daria gathered the flash drive and laptop, her phone chimed with a text. The color drained from her face. What is it? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. It showed a photo of her apartment door, slightly ajar, with a simple message. Too late? We need to split up, Seiji decided. Different locations. Minimize the risk. No, I said firmly. That's exactly what they want. To isolate us, pick us off one by one. I grabbed my purse and the laptop. There's only one place we can go where Lance won't expect us, where we'll have the protection we need. Where? Daria asked. To find Dalton Moore. I met their shocked expressions with grim determination. The man Lance hired to kill me is our best chance at staying alive. That's insane, Alea protested. Maybe, but Lance doesn't know I know about Dalton, and Dalton doesn't know I survived the hit he was paid for. I headed for the door. Sometimes the most dangerous place is the safest. Finding Dalton wasn't difficult. Despite the years that had passed, I still remembered his patterns, his preferences. Some obsessions leave permanent marks on both parties. He owned a dive bar on the edge of town called The Last Call. Fitting, considering his side business. The neon sign buzzed and flickered as we pulled into the gravel parking lot just after midnight. This is a terrible idea, Alea muttered from the passenger seat. We'd left Sage and Daria at a motel outside the city limits, reasoning that splitting into pairs was safer than staying together or separating completely. Probably, I agreed, staring at the bar's grimy windows. But we're out of good options. What exactly is your plan here? Walk up to the man who tried to kill you and ask for protection? I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. My bruised face told its own story. I'm going to offer him something better than what Lance paid him. Your husband already tried to have you killed once, Alea reminded me. What makes you think Dalton won't just finish the job? Professional pride. I reached for the door handle. He failed, and someone else knows he failed. That damages his reputation. That's a hell of a gamble. Stay in the car, I told her. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, call Seiji and get as far away as possible. The bar's interior matched its exterior, dingy, dark, and smelling of stale beer and desperation. A few patrons hunched over their drinks, none bothering to look up as I entered. Behind the bar stood Dalton, older than I remembered, but still recognizable. The lean build had thickened, his once sharp features softened by time and hard living. But his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, hadn't changed at all. Those eyes found mine immediately. Recognition flashed across his face, followed by something I couldn't quite read. Surprise? Fear? He recovered quickly, wiping his hands on a towel. Well? He said as I approached the bar. Look what the cat dragged in. Hello, Dalton. Lindsay. He set down a glass with deliberate care. You look like shit. Funny story about that. I slid onto a bar stool, ignoring the pain in my ribs. Someone ran me off Mountain Pass Road last Thursday. Tried to make it look like an accident. His expression didn't change, but his knuckles whitened against the bar top. Sounds dangerous. You should be more careful. The thing is, I continued, keeping my voice low, the job wasn't finished, and now Lance is scrambling. Dalton's eyes darted around the bar before returning to mine. I don't know what you're talking about. $50,000, half up front, half on completion. I leaned closer. Except there was no completion, was there? Just a botched job and a very alive target sitting in front of you. He poured 2 shots of whiskey, sliding one toward me. You always were too smart for your own good. Smart enough to know Lance won't pay the second half now, and smart enough to know he might want to tie up loose ends. I left the shot untouched. Loose ends like the hitman who failed. A muscle twitched in Dalton's jaw. What do you want? Information, protection, and a chance to bring Lance down before he can hurt anyone else. Dalton laughed, a harsh sound with no humor. And why would I help you? Because I can pay better than Lance, and because I can keep you out of prison when this all comes crashing down. He studied me for a long moment. Wait here. He disappeared through a door behind the bar. I glanced at my watch. 10 minutes had passed. Alea would be getting anxious. Dalton returned with a manila envelope, which he slid across the bar. Insurance policy, I keep records on all my clients. Inside were photos of Lance meeting Dalton at a storage facility, text messages discussing payment terms, and a hand-drawn map of the mountain road with an X marking the spot where I went off. Why keep this? I asked, leafing through the evidence. Like you said, loose ends. He knocked back his shot. Your husband's involved with dangerous people. I wanted leverage if things went south. The trafficking operation. Dalton's eyebrows rose slightly. You know about that? Oh, enough to know it's bigger than Lance and Kingsley. Who's really running it? He glanced around the bar again, then leaned in. A woman named Elise. No last name that I know of. Old money, political connections. Lance and Kingsley are just middle management. The name meant nothing to me, but it was a start. Where can I find her? You don't. She finds you. Dalton refilled his glass. Look, whatever you're planning, drop it. Take what I've given you and disappear. These people don't play games. Neither do I, not anymore. I gathered the documents. I need somewhere safe for tonight, somewhere Lance wouldn't think to look. Dalton sighed, resignation in his eyes. There's an apartment above the bar. It's not much, but it's off the grid. Thank you. Don't thank me. His voice hardened. I'm not doing this out of the goodness of my heart. When this is over, we're even. The restraining order, the reputation you ruined, all of it. Clean slate. I nodded, understanding the transaction. I'll get Alla from the car. The friend who helped you put me away? Dalton's laugh was bitter. This just keeps getting better. Alea was furious when I explained the arrangement, but she followed me upstairs to Dalton's Spartan apartment. The space was clean but impersonal, a place to sleep, not to live. I don't trust him, she whispered as we settled on the threadbare couch. He tried to kill you. He failed to kill me, I corrected, and now he's as much a target as we are. My phone buzzed with a text from Saig. Daria's gone. Left while I was showering. Took the flash drive. Damn it! I showed Alia the message. You think she went back to Lance? Or she got scared and ran? I tried calling Daria's number, but it went straight to voicemail. Another text from Saig appeared. Someone's outside the room, calling police. Then nothing. We need to go, Alea said, already on her feet. It's too late. Dalton stood in the doorway, a gun in his hand. Your friend Daria sold you out. Lance knows you're here. My heart plummeted. How do you know that? He tossed me his phone. On the screen was a text from Lance. She's with you, 100K to finish the job. Both of them. So what happens now? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Dalton checked his watch. Now we have about 10 minutes before Lance's men arrive. And we need to be gone in 5. We? Like I said. He tucked the gun into his waistband. Clean slate, let's go. We fled through the bar's back exit as headlights swept the parking lot. Dalton led us to a nondescript sedan parked in the alley, its engine already running. Get in, he ordered, sliding behind the wheel. I hesitated, every instinct screaming that trusting Dalton was insanity. But the alternative, facing Lance and whoever he'd brought, was worse. Lindsay, come on! Alea yanked open the back door. We peeled out of the alley as 2 SUVs pulled up to the bar. In the rearview mirror, I glimpsed men in dark clothing entering the building, their movements purposeful and coordinated. Not local muscle, professionals. "Where are we going?" I asked as Dalton navigated through back streets, keeping his headlights off. "Somewhere they won't look." His eyes flicked to the mirror constantly. "We need to ditch this car first. It's too easy to track." My phone buzzed. Sage again. "Safe. Police came. Told them it was a misunderstanding." "Where are you?" I texted back. "On the move. Daria betrayed us. Stay where you are." "We need to go to the firm," I said suddenly. "Tonight." Dalton shot me a look like I'd lost my mind. "That's the first place they'll look." Whoa, exactly why they won't expect us to go there. I leaned forward between the seats. "The quarterly audit starts tomorrow. The compliance team will be working late tonight, preparing the servers. The security will be focused on the main entrance, but I know another way in." "And once we're inside," Alea asked, "we get everything. The original files, server access, all of it. Enough to take to the FBI with ironclad proof." Dalton shook his head. "Too risky. More risky than running with no plan?" I challenged. "Lance is always 3 steps ahead because he knows how I think. It's time to do something he'd never expect." 20 minutes later, we abandoned Dalton's car in a shopping mall parking lot and took an Uber to a coffee shop 2 blocks from my firm. The night air was cold against my face as we walked the final distance, staying in the shadows. "There's a service entrance on the east side," I explained. "The cleaning crew uses it. My key card should work." "Should," Alea hissed. "Will," I corrected, "unless Lance has already had my access revoked." The service door beeped green when I swiped my card. We slipped inside, into the fluorescent-lit back hallway that smelled of industrial cleaner. "The compliance department is on the 14th floor," I whispered. "This time of night, there should only be a skeleton crew." We took the service elevator, my heart pounding harder with each floor we passed. When the doors opened, I peered out cautiously. The hallway was empty, but I could see light spilling from the glass-walled compliance office at the end of the corridor. "Wait here," I told Dalton and Alea. "If something goes wrong, get out and call Sage." I walked toward the light, trying to appear casual despite my bruised face and the fear coursing through me. Through the glass, I could see 2 people hunched over computers, junior associates pulling an all-nighter for the audit. I pushed open the door. "Working late?" They jumped, startled by my appearance. "Ms. Wood." The younger one, Ryan, I remembered, looked shocked. "We thought you were on medical leave." "I am. Officially." I moved to an empty workstation. "But I heard there were some irregularities in the Young Green Development accounts. I wanted to check personally." The associates exchanged glances. "Ms. Ferguson already pulled those files," the other one said. "She said you'd authorized it." My stomach dropped. "When?" "Earlier today. She took them to Mr. Young for review." Of course she had. Daria had been working with Lance all along, feeding him information about our movements while pretending to help us. "I see." I kept my voice neutral. "Well, I'd like to review them myself. Can you access the server backup?" Ryan hesitated. "We'd need authorization from a partner," I finished. "Like Sake Taylor? Call her, she'll confirm." While Ryan made the call, I texted Alia. "Daria took the files to Lance. Need server backup." Sage must have been convincing, because minutes later, Ryan was logging me into the system with his credentials. "The compliance portal is already open," he explained. "All the audit files are accessible from there." I scanned the folders quickly, looking for anything related to Young Green Development. Most had already been emptied, Lance covering his tracks. But in a subfolder labeled Historical Data, I found what I needed. Server logs showing access patterns, transfer records, and most damning of all, emails between Lance, Kingsley, and someone using the alias Elise. It had to be. I was downloading the files to a secure drive when the office door opened. I turned, expecting Ala or Dalton. Instead, Lance stood in the doorway, Kingsley beside him. Behind them, Daria watched with cold eyes. "Lindsay." Lance's voice was soft, almost sad. "Always so predictable." The associates shrank back, sensing the tension. Lance gestured, and they scurried out, leaving us alone. Predictable? I stood my ground. You didn't predict I'd survive your little accident. A miscalculation, he admitted. One I won't repeat. It's over, Lance. I have everything. The trafficking operation, the money laundering, the hit you ordered on me. It's all being uploaded to the FBI as we speak. Uncertainty flickered across his face. You're bluffing. Am I? I nodded toward the computer, where a progress bar showed the upload at 89%. You taught me to always have a contingency plan. Lance lunged for the computer, but I was faster, putting myself between him and the screen. He grabbed my injured ribs, making me gasp with pain. You stupid bitch, he hissed. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I know exactly what I'm dealing with. I gritted through the pain. A coward who tried to have his wife killed, rather than face her in divorce court. His hand closed around my throat. It was never about the divorce. It was about keeping you from finding out about Elise, about what we've built. Built? I choked out. You're trafficking women, destroying lives. Creating an empire, he corrected, tightening his grip. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. Behind Lance, I saw Kingsley watching impassively, Daria with a hint of regret in her eyes. Then a new figure appeared in the doorway. Dalton, his gun trained on Lance. Let her go, he said quietly. Lance laughed without releasing me. You had your chance to kill her. You failed. I missed on purpose, Dalton replied. Insurance policy, just like the recordings I made of our meetings, the ones I sent to the FBI an hour ago. Lance's grip loosened slightly. You're lying. Check your phone, Dalton suggested. As if on cue, Lance's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, color draining from his face. The upload reached 100%. Complete. It's over, I said again, my voice raw. Lance's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the truth. He had never loved me. I had only ever been a convenient cover, a respectable facade for his real life. If I'm going down, he whispered, you're coming with me. His hand moved to his jacket. I saw the glint of metal. A gunshot cracked through the air. Lance crumpled to the floor, blood blooming across his shoulder. Behind him stood Alea, Dalton's gun trembling in her hands. He was going to shoot you, she whispered. Kingsley bolted for the door, but Dalton caught him with a swift punch that sent him sprawling. Daria remained frozen, her face a mask of shock. I stared at my husband writhing on the carpet, clutching his wounded shoulder. The man I'd built a life with. The man who'd ordered my death. Something cold and final settled in my chest as I knelt beside him. You never loved me, did you? I asked softly. Lance's eyes, clouded with pain, met mine. I loved what you represented. Respectability, connections, the perfect cover. And when I became a liability? Business decision. His laugh turned into a grimace. Nothing personal. This is personal. I pulled his phone from his jacket pocket. And now I'm going to find Elise and burn your entire operation to the ground. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone, probably the associates, had called the police. You won't find her, Lance gasped. She's untouchable. I held up his phone, showing him the screen. Your location tracking is still on. Every meeting you've had for the past 6 months is logged here, including the ones at the Westlake property. Fear flashed across his face. You don't know what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. I stood up. I'm finishing what you started. The next hours passed in a blur of police statements, FBI interviews, and medical examinations. Dawn was breaking when Agent Rivera finally closed her notebook. We've verified the evidence you provided, she said. Combined with Mr. Moore's testimony and the server data, we have enough to charge your husband, Mr. Green, and Miss Ferguson with multiple federal crimes. And Elise? I asked. We're coordinating a raid on the Westlake property based on the location data you provided. She hesitated. But I should warn you, these trafficking networks have powerful protection. The woman you know as Elise may have already fled. She won't run, I said with certainty. She thinks she's untouchable. Agent Rivera studied me. We'll need you to testify. I'll do whatever it takes. After she left, Alea found me in the hospital waiting room, her eyes red from crying. I shot your husband. You saved my life, I corrected, taking her hand. How are you holding up? Surprisingly okay. She gave a shaky laugh. Turns out I'm capable of more than I thought. That makes two of us. Sage arrived with coffee and clean clothes. The firm's in chaos. The managing partners are trying to distance themselves from the scandal. Let me guess. They're claiming no knowledge of Lance's activities? While simultaneously launching an internal investigation to show how seriously they take compliance. Sage's smile was cynical. Politics as usual. What about you? Alia asked me. What happens now? I considered the question. For days, I'd been focused solely on survival and justice. I hadn't thought beyond exposing Lance. First, I'm going to the Westlake property, I decided. I need to see this through to the end. The FBI won't let you anywhere near an active raid, Sage warned. They don't need to know I'm there. 3 hours later, I watched from a hill overlooking the luxury development as FBI agents swarmed the property. Black SUVs lined the circular driveway of the main house, a modernist mansion of glass and steel that Lance had proudly shown me in architectural renderings. This is a bad idea, Dalton muttered beside me. He'd insisted on coming, claiming he needed to ensure his testimony aligned with the evidence. But I suspected he felt responsible for me now, a strange twist in our complicated history. I need to see her face, I said. The woman who made my husband decide I was disposable. Through binoculars, I watched agents escorting people from the house, young women looking shell-shocked, men in expensive suits being handcuffed. Then a figure emerged that made my breath catch. That's her, Dalton confirmed. Elise. She was striking, tall, elegant, with silver-streaked dark hair and the confident bearing of old money. Even in handcuffs, she radiated authority. As if sensing my gaze, she looked up toward our position, her expression inscrutable. You got what you wanted, Dalton said. Time to go. But something nagged at me, a connection I couldn't quite grasp. I zoomed the binoculars, focusing on Elise's face as an agent guided her into a vehicle. Recognition hit me like a physical blow. I know her, I whispered. That's Eleanor Mercer. Who? My mother's college roommate. She used to visit when I was a child. Memories cascaded. The elegant woman who brought me expensive gifts, who took a special interest in my education, who suggested the law firm where I eventually built my career. She's been watching me my whole life, I realized. Grooming me. For what? I don't know. I lowered the binoculars, my mind racing. But I'm going to find out. As we drove back to the city, I felt strangely hollow. The adrenaline that had carried me through the past week was fading, leaving raw grief in its wake. Not for Lance. That relationship had died the moment I heard him planning my murder. But for the life I'd thought I had. The future I'd believed in. What will you do now? Dalton asked, breaking the silence. I watched the city skyline emerge through the windshield, familiar yet somehow foreign. Rebuild. But differently this time. Differently? How? I thought about Lance, about Elise, about the elaborate deception that had shaped my life without my knowledge, about how easily I'd accepted the version of reality they'd constructed. With my eyes open, I said, no more convenient blindness, no more trusting without verifying. Dalton nodded, understanding in his eyes. The world's uglier that way. But real. I turned to watch the sunrise painting the clouds in fierce oranges and reds. I'd rather live in an ugly truth than a beautiful lie. As we reached the city limits, my phone rang. Agent Rivera with news. They'd found documentation at the Westlake property linking Elise's operation to political figures, judges, even law enforcement. The case was expanding by the hour. We'll need you to come in again, she said. There are connections here we don't fully understand yet. I'll be there, I promised, thinking of Eleanor Mercer's, Elise's, calculating eyes. The way she'd looked at me on that hillside, not with the shock of someone caught, but with the frustration of a chess player whose carefully arranged pieces had been scattered. This wasn't over, it was just beginning. I ended the call and straightened my shoulders, embracing the clarity that comes after devastation. Lance had tried to destroy me, believing I was just another piece in his game. Instead, he'd stripped away my illusions and forced me to become something stronger, more dangerous than the trusting woman he'd married. He'd tried to bury me. He didn't realize I was a seed.
I should have trusted my gut when Brinley burst into my house that Sunday morning, waving her laptop and practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. But sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who know exactly how to wear you down. My name is Paige, and 6 months ago, my sister and mother convinced my husband to invest our life savings in what would become the biggest mistake of our lives. "This is it, Paige!" Brinley had exclaimed, setting up her presentation on our dining room table. "The business opportunity of a lifetime. Dean, you've got to see this too." I watched my husband emerge from the kitchen, coffee in hand, that familiar gleam of curiosity in his eyes. That's when Mom walked in. She didn't even knock anymore, carrying a stack of papers and wearing that determined expression I'd grown to dread. "I've already reviewed the business plan," Mom announced, settling into a chair. "It's brilliant, simply brilliant." I crossed my arms. "Since when are you a business expert, Mom?" "Don't be difficult, Paige," she replied, shooting me that look that still made me feel like a teenager. "Your sister has worked incredibly hard on this." Brinley clicked through her slides, her voice getting higher with each passing minute. "It's a revolutionary approach to sustainable fashion. We're talking about completely disrupting the industry. The projections show we could triple our investment within the first year." I glanced at Dean, who was leaning forward, completely absorbed. My stomach twisted. "Those numbers seem a little optimistic, don't they?" "God, you're always such a pessimist," Brinley sighed. "This is why you're still stuck in that boring accounting job while I'm out here creating something amazing." "My boring accounting job pays our bills," I shot back. "And from what I can see, these projections aren't based on any real market research." Mom reached across the table and patted my hand. "Honey, sometimes you have to take risks in life. Look how passionate your sister is about this." "Passion doesn't guarantee success," I argued, pulling my hand away. "Dean, please tell me you're not buying this." But Dean was already pulling out his phone, checking our accounts. "The timing could actually work. That inheritance from my dad is just sitting there. That money is for our future." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "For the house we've been saving for, remember?" "This could get us that house faster," Brinley interjected. "Plus so much more. Dean gets it, don't you?" I watched in horror as my husband nodded slowly. "Maybe we should hear her out, Paige. It does sound promising." The next few weeks were a blur of arguments, presentations, and guilt trips. Every time I raised an objection, I was painted as the negative one, the dream killer, the unsupportive sister. Mom would call daily, telling me how selfish I was being, how I was holding Dean back from an amazing opportunity. "Your sister has put everything into this," she'd say. "She needs family support. Remember how you felt when no one believed in you?" The final blow came during a family dinner. Brinley had brought her business partner Ulysses, a smooth-talking consultant who seemed to have an answer for every question I raised. "The contracts are ready to sign," Brinley announced over dessert. "We just need the capital to secure the manufacturing deals." Dean squeezed my hand under the table. "I think we should do it, honey. We can't pass this up." I looked around the table, at my mother's expectant face, my sister's barely contained excitement, and my husband's hopeful eyes. The weight of their combined pressure felt suffocating. "Fine," I whispered, feeling something break inside me. "But when this fails, remember that I warned you." "It won't fail," Brinley declared, raising her wine glass. "To family and future success." Everyone clinked glasses. I remained silent, watching them celebrate what I knew in my heart was a massive mistake. 3 months later, I stood in our empty living room, staring at my phone's banking app. The account that had once held our life savings now showed a balance of $243.17. Dean sat on our only remaining chair, head in his hands, while I listened to Brinley's voicemail for the 10th time. "I'm so sorry," her message said. "The market shifted, unexpected complications. I never meant for this to happen." Mom had stopped taking my calls 2 weeks ago, right around the time Brinley's company filed for bankruptcy. The manufacturing deals had been a sham, the market research non-existent, and our money, along with several other investors, had vanished into a black hole of bad decisions, and what I was beginning to suspect was outright fraud. I looked at Dean, broken and defeated, and felt something hard and cold settle in my chest. They had all pushed us into this, my mother, my sister, even my own husband. They had dismissed my concerns, belittled my caution, and now they had the audacity to disappear when everything fell apart. That's when I made a decision. They thought I was just the negative one, the pessimist, the boring accountant. They were about to learn exactly what this boring accountant could do. The morning after our world collapsed, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. After weeks of silence, she finally had something to say. "Let's meet for coffee. We need to discuss moving forward." I stared at the message while Dean got ready for work. He'd taken a second job at a warehouse to help us stay afloat. The apartment felt hollow, most of our furniture sold to cover next month's rent. "I'm meeting Mom," I told him as he grabbed his keys. He paused at the door. "Maybe she has a solution." "Like what? Another one of Brinley's brilliant ideas?" The bitterness in my voice made him flinch. "Paige, please. They're still family." "Family doesn't do this to each other," I muttered, but he was already gone. The coffee shop was crowded when I arrived. Mom sat in a corner booth, perfectly put together as always, sipping her usual vanilla latte. She smiled and waved as if we were meeting for a casual catch-up, not in the aftermath of financial devastation. "Honey, you look terrible," she said as I slid into the booth. "Have you been sleeping?" "Not since I had to sell my bed," I replied flatly. She winced. "About that, I've been talking to Brinley. She feels awful about everything." "Where is she?" I demanded. "She won't answer my calls, won't respond to emails. She took our money and disappeared." "She's staying with me," Mom admitted, stirring her coffee. "She's really struggling with this, Paige. The failure has hit her hard." I laughed, a harsh sound that made nearby customers turn their heads. "She's struggling? We lost everything. Everything, Mom. And you're worried about her feelings?" "These things happen in business," Mom said, reaching for my hand. I pulled it away. "Nobody could have predicted—" "I predicted it," I cut in. "I told you all exactly what would happen. But you wouldn't listen because Brinley's dreams were more important than my reality," a familiar voice called out from behind me. "Paige! Oh my God, I thought it was you!" Ava, my best friend from college, appeared at our table. Her smile faded as she read the tension between Mom and me. "I'm sorry, am I interrupting?" "No," I said, standing up. "We're done here." "Paige, please," Mom protested. "We need to figure out how to help Brinley through this." "Help Brinley?" I spun around, my voice rising. "What about helping Dean and me? We're living on ramen while she's hiding out in your guest room." Ava stepped closer, her hand on my arm. "Why don't we go get some air?" Outside, I finally broke down. Ava listened as I spilled everything. The pressure, the betrayal, the crushing weight of watching our savings evaporate while my family circled the wagons around Brinley. "Have you looked into what actually happened to the money?" Ava asked. She worked in corporate law, and I could see her professional interest picking. "They won't tell me anything. Brinley claims it's all gone, but something feels off. The whole thing collapsed too quickly." "Want me to do some digging?" she offered. "I have contacts who specialize in financial fraud investigations." I hesitated. "You think it was fraud?" "I think your sister's either criminally stupid or just criminal," Ava said bluntly. Either way, you deserve answers. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. Brinley wants to meet. She has a new opportunity she thinks could help you recover your investment. Unbelievable, I muttered, showing Ava the message. They really don't get it, do they? She said, shaking her head. No, they don't. I straightened up, wiping my eyes. But maybe it's time they did. Ava, if I wanted to find out exactly what happened to our money, where would I start? She pulled out her business card and wrote a name on the back. Start with him. He's a forensic accountant I work with. Tell him I sent you. That evening, Dean found me at our kitchen table, surrounded by papers I'd printed at the library, bank statements, incorporation documents, anything public I could find about Brinley's failed company. What's all this? He asked. Research, I replied, not looking up. I'm going to find out exactly what our dear sister did with our money. Paige, he sighed, maybe we should just move on, start fresh. I finally met his eyes. You want to just let them get away with this? Let them write it off as a simple business failure while we lose everything? They're your family. No, I said, turning back to my papers. Family doesn't steal from you and then hide behind their mother. Family doesn't watch you lose everything and then have the nerve to pitch you another opportunity. I picked up my phone, pulling up the forensic accountant's contact information. They wanted a business person in the family? Well, they're about to get one. The forensic accountant's office smelled like coffee and printer ink. Marcus, the expert Ava had recommended, peered at his computer screen while I sat across from him, watching his expression darken. Your sister really didn't try to hide her tracks, he muttered, clicking through documents. It's almost amateur hour. What do you mean? He turned the screen toward me. See these transfers? Large sums moving between accounts, but there's no corresponding product purchases or vendor payments. The money just moves. To where? That's where it gets interesting. He pulled up another window. A lot of it ended up in personal accounts. Some went to online gambling sites. But the biggest red flag? He pointed to a series of transactions. These supposed manufacturing contracts? They're with shell companies, empty storefronts. My hands clenched in my lap. Are you saying she never intended to manufacture anything? I'm saying your sister ran what looks like a classic Ponzi scheme, just not very well. I left Marcus's office with a USB drive full of evidence and a storm brewing in my chest. On my way home, my phone rang. Ulysses, Brinley's former business partner. Paige, can we meet? There's something you should know. An hour later, I sat across from him at a quiet bar. He looked nervous, fingers drumming on his beer bottle. I quit last week, he said, right before everything fell apart. I saw what was coming. And you didn't warn anyone? He winced. I tried telling Brinley she was in over her head, but she kept saying your mom would cover any shortfalls. That family money would keep us afloat. What family money? I leaned forward. Mom's not rich. That's what I thought. But Brinley had these emails. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. Here, she was telling investors that your mother was backing the company with her retirement fund. I read the emails, my blood running cold. Mom's name was all over them, listed as a silent partner and financial guarantor. Her signature appeared on documents she couldn't possibly have seen. Did my mother know about this? Ulysses shook his head. I don't think so. Brinley forged a lot of signatures, said it was easier than dealing with paperwork. Back home, I found Dean asleep on our second-hand couch. My laptop glowed in the darkness as I logged into my old work email. I still had access from my accounting days. With trembling fingers, I started searching through archived communications with Brinley's company. At 2 a.m., I found it. Buried in a folder marked vendor contracts was an email chain between Brinley and someone named Jake. They were discussing how to restructure investor payments to cover personal expenses. My own sister had planned to steal from us from the very beginning. I printed everything, hands shaking as I organized the papers into a folder. A text from Mom lit up my phone. Brinley's ready to explain everything. Family dinner tomorrow night. Please come. I started typing a response, then stopped. Maybe it was time to hear what excuses they'd invented. The next evening, I walked into Mom's house armed with my folder of evidence. The familiar smell of her lasagna filled the air, but my stomach was too knotted to feel hungry. "Paige!" Brinley rushed forward for a hug. I stepped back. "Don't." Mom emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Girls, let's all sit down and talk this through like family." "Family?" I pulled out the emails. "Like how you forged Mom's signature to secure investments, Brinley? Is that what family does?" The color drained from her face. "Where did you get those?" Or how about these bank statements showing where our money really went? The casino withdrawals? The transfers to your personal account? Mom snatched the papers from my hand. "What is this?" "Ask your daughter," I said. "Ask her about the shell companies and the forged documents. Ask her why she told investors you were backing her scheme with your retirement fund." "I never—" Mom's voice trailed off as she read. "Brinley," my sister's face crumpled. "I was going to pay it all back. I just needed some startup capital." "Startup capital?" I laughed. "You mean gambling money? Shopping sprees?" "You don't understand the pressure I was under," Brinley shouted. "Everyone expected me to be successful, to make something of myself." "So you stole from your own family?" Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I stood up, dropping the USB drive on the table. "Everything's there, every transaction, every forged document, every lie. I'm taking this to the police tomorrow." "You can't!" Brinley grabbed my arm. "Please, Paige, I'm your sister." I pulled away, meeting her desperate eyes. "You stopped being my sister the moment you decided to destroy my life for your own gain." As I walked out, I heard Mom starting to cry. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something other than despair. I felt powerful. The police station's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Detective Rivera reviewed my evidence. She paused on certain documents, making notes while I sat across from her desk, fighting the urge to fidget. "This is thorough," she said finally. "Very thorough. But prosecuting family fraud cases can be complicated." "She stole from multiple investors, not just us," I pointed out, "and I have proof of forgery." "True." She tapped her pen against the desk. "We'll need more witness statements, starting with this business partner, Ulysses." My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, a text from Ulysses. "Need to talk. Important. Meet at Carlo's Cafe?" An hour later, I found him hunched over a coffee cup, looking even more nervous than before. "Brinley called me," he said as I sat down. "She knows you're gathering evidence." "And?" "She wants me to sign a statement saying I was the one who handled all the financial decisions." His hands shook as he reached for his coffee. "She's threatening to implicate me if I don't." I leaned forward. "But you have proof that's not true, right?" "Some. Emails mostly." "But Paige—" He glanced around the cafe. "There's something bigger, something I didn't tell you before." He pulled out his laptop, opening a folder labeled Shadow Accounts. "Look at these transactions. They don't just lead to gambling sites and shopping sprees. Some of this money, it went to another company, one I'd never heard of until I started digging." The company name caught my eye, Stellar Ventures, LLC. "Wait," I said. "I know that name. Mom mentioned it months ago. Said it was an investment group she was considering for her retirement fund." Ulysses nodded. "It's registered to someone named Robert Walsh. But look at the address." I stared at the screen. The business address was my mother's house. "Mom's involved?" My voice cracked. "She knew?" "I don't know for sure," Ulysses said. "But these transfers, they're too regular to be coincidence. Someone was siphoning investor money into this company systematically." My phone buzzed again. Dean calling. I ignored it. "I need copies of everything," I told Ulysses. "And I need you to tell the police what you know." He hesitated. "Brinley will come after me." "She's going down either way. Question is, Do you want to go down with her? Back home, Dean was waiting. His expression told me he knew. Your mother called, he said, crying about how you're trying to destroy the family. The family? I threw my bag down. They destroyed us first. Paige, maybe we should— Don't. I held up my hand. Don't defend them. Not after what I just learned. I showed him the documents from Ulysses. As he read, his face hardened. Your mom's house? But that would mean— She was in on it. Maybe from the beginning. I sank onto our couch. All those times she pushed us to invest when she vouched for Brinley's business plan. My phone buzzed yet again. This time a text from an unknown number. Back off, or everyone learns about the tax fraud at your old accounting firm. I showed Dean. They're trying to blackmail me now. What tax fraud? There wasn't any. I would have known. I stood up, anger replacing my shock. They're getting desperate. Dean grabbed my arm. Paige, be careful. If they're willing to threaten you— I'm done being careful. I pulled away, grabbing my laptop. They want to play dirty? Fine, let's play. I emailed Detective Rivera. Found new evidence. Possible conspiracy involving multiple parties. Can we meet tomorrow? Her response came quickly. Bring everything you have, and Paige, watch your back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at our kitchen table, surrounded by papers, connecting dots I should have seen months ago. Mom's sudden interest in Brinley's business, the way she'd pressured us to invest, her convenient disappearance when everything fell apart. A knock at the door made me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Ava. You need to see this, she said when I let her in. She was carrying a thick file. I did some digging at work. Stellar Ventures? It's not their first scam. They've done this before, under different names. She spread out documents showing a pattern of failed businesses, lost investments, and shell companies. Your sister may have been the face of this scheme, Ava said, but she was just the latest puppet. This goes deeper than family drama, Paige. This is organized fraud. I stared at the evidence of a conspiracy that had used my own family to target me. My mother and sister weren't just betrayers, they were co-conspirators. Good, I said, adding Ava's documents to my growing pile. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Detective Rivera spread the new evidence across her desk, her expression growing grimmer with each document. This is bigger than we thought. We're looking at organized fraud across multiple states. What do you need from me? I asked. We need someone on the inside. She leaned forward. Your sister's hosting a business meeting tomorrow night. Apparently, she's already looking for new investors. My jaw dropped. She's trying to do it again? With your mother's help. The detective slid a small device across the desk. This is a recording pen, completely legal in this state. We need you to attend that meeting. They'll never let me in. They know I'm investigating them. Actually, she handed me a printed email. Your mother specifically requested your presence, says she wants to make amends. I read the email, my heart pounding. The meeting was at an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind of place Brinley always chose to impress potential marks. Won't they suspect something? They're expecting you to come angry, demanding answers. Give them what they expect. Detective Rivera's eyes met mine. Just keep the pen in your jacket pocket. Let them talk. That evening, I met Ava at her apartment to prepare. She helped me choose an outfit that would conceal the recording pen while still looking business appropriate. Remember, she said, adjusting my blazer, they'll try to provoke you. Stay calm. Let them incriminate themselves. What if they search me? They won't. She squeezed my shoulders. They're too arrogant. They think they can talk you down, maybe even rope you into their next scheme. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Please come tonight, honey. We can fix this as a family. Ava read it over my shoulder. They're still playing the family card. It won't work this time. I checked the recording pen one last time. I'm done protecting people who never protected me. The restaurant was packed when I arrived. Through the window, I could see Brinley holding court at a large table, gesturing animatedly to a group of well-dressed strangers. Mom sat beside her, nodding and smiling at all the right moments. "Paige!" Brinley's voice was too bright when I approached. "Everyone, this is my sister I was telling you about." The potential investors smiled politely. There were 5 of them, all looking eager and unsuspecting, just like Dean and I had been. "Sorry I'm late," I said, taking the empty seat next to Mom. "Traffic was terrible." "We were just discussing the exciting opportunities in sustainable fashion," Brinley continued smoothly, "learning from past ventures to create something truly revolutionary." "Past ventures?" I couldn't help myself. "You mean past failures?" Mom's hand gripped my arm under the table. "Paige, please. We're here to move forward." One of the investors, a woman in her 40s, leaned forward. "I'd love to hear your perspective, Paige. Your sister mentioned you have financial experience?" "I do." I felt the recording pen press against my chest. "In fact, I have quite a bit of experience with my sister's business practices." Brinley's smile tightened. "Perhaps we should discuss the new proposal first." "No, let's discuss experience." I pulled out my phone, pulling up the banking app showing our empty account. "Let me show you exactly what investing with my sister looks like." "This isn't the time," Mom hissed. "When is the time?" I turned to the investors. "Before or after she transfers your money to Stellar Ventures?" The room went silent. Mom's face went white. "What's Stellar Ventures?" one of the investors asked. "Why don't you ask my mother?" I suggested. "It's registered to her address after all." Brinley stood up abruptly. "I think we need a family moment. If you'll excuse us—" "Sit down," I said quietly. "Unless you want me to start showing everyone the proof of your forged documents." The investors were looking increasingly uncomfortable. The woman who had asked about my experience was already gathering her things. "Perhaps we should reschedule," she said. "No, wait!" Brinley's composure cracked. "This is just a family disagreement. My sister is bitter about some past investments that didn't pan out." "Didn't pan out?" I laughed. "Is that what we're calling fraud now?" Mom grabbed my arm again, harder this time. "Stop this right now." I stood up, shaking her off. "No, Mom, you stop. Stop lying to these people. Stop helping her steal their money. Just stop." The investors were all standing now, muttering excuses as they backed away from the table. Brinley watched them go, her face twisted with rage. "You've ruined everything," she snarled. I touched the recording pen in my pocket, feeling stronger by the second. "No, you did that all on your own. I'm just making sure you can't do it to anyone else." As I walked out of the restaurant, I heard Mom calling after me, but her voice was drowned out by the sound of my own heart beating steady and sure, knowing that tomorrow Detective Rivera would have everything she needed to bring them all down. The recording from the restaurant played through Detective Rivera's office speakers, every damning word crystal clear. Mom's voice crackled through the device. "The investment is completely secure. I personally guarantee it." "That's explicit fraud," Rivera said, stopping the playback. "Combined with the paper trail, we have enough for arrests." "When?" I asked. "Today. We're moving now, before they can destroy more evidence." She stood up. "Want to watch?" I met Ava outside Mom's house an hour later. Police cars lined the street, lights flashing. Neighbors peered from behind curtains as officers led my mother out in handcuffs. "I did this for you," Mom shouted when she saw me. "Everything was for this family." "Taking our life savings was for family?" I called back. "Stealing from innocent people was for family?" Brinley emerged next, mascara streaking her face. "Paige, please, tell them this is a mistake." "The only mistake was trusting you." Officers were carrying out boxes of documents, computers, and hard drives. Detective Rivera approached us, holding up a familiar-looking laptop. "Found this hidden in the crawl space," she said, along with about $50,000 in cash. Ava squeezed my arm. "That's more than enough for criminal charges." A black SUV pulled up, and a man in an expensive suit jumped out, running toward the house. I recognized him from Ava's files, Robert Walsh, the name behind Stellar Ventures. "Nobody say anything," he shouted. "I'm their lawyer." "Little late for that," Detective Rivera said, holding up my recording pen. "We've got everything we need right here." Walsh's face darkened as he spotted me. You're the sister." He stepped closer, voice dropping. "You have no idea what you've done." "Step back, sir," an officer warned, moving between us. Inside the house, more evidence emerged. Officers found a hidden safe containing forged documents, fake IDs, and records of previous scams. Mom and Brinley had been running variations of this scheme for years, targeting family members of their marks to add pressure and legitimacy. "I can't believe how deep this goes," Ava muttered, watching another box of evidence being carried out. My phone rang. Dean. "Are you watching the news?" he asked when I answered. "I'm watching it live," I replied. "They just arrested them." A pause. "How are you holding up?" "I don't know yet." I watched as Mom and Brinley were placed in separate police cars. "But I know I did the right thing." "Mrs. Gray!" A reporter had broken through the police line, microphone extended. "How does it feel to expose your own family's criminal enterprise?" Before I could respond, Ulysses's car screeched to a halt at the curb. He jumped out, waving a USB drive. "Detective!" he called out. "I found more. Email servers, offshore accounts, everything." Walsh spun toward him. "You little rat." "Sir, step back or you're next," Rivera warned, taking the drive from Ulysses. Brinley pressed her face against the police car window. "Ulysses, you promised! We had a deal!" "The deal's off," he shot back. "I'm not going down for this." More reporters arrived, cameras flashing. Mom stared straight ahead, her perfect makeup now streaked with tears. Brinley alternated between sobbing and shouting threats at anyone who would listen. Detective Rivera turned to me. "We'll need you to come down to the station, make a formal statement." "I'll come with you," Ava offered. "Actually," Rivera said, "we need to talk to you too. Your law firm's records show some interesting connections to Stellar Ventures." Ava smiled grimly. "I was hoping you'd find those. I've got a whole file ready for you." As the police cars pulled away, Walsh stormed up to me one last time. "You think this is over? This goes higher than you know. People will come after you for this." "Let them come," I replied, loud enough for nearby reporters to hear. "I've got nothing left to lose, remember? Your clients made sure of that." He paled as cameras swung in his direction. "Sir," a reporter approached, "can you comment on your connection to Stellar Ventures?" Walsh fled to his SUV, leaving me standing in front of my childhood home, watching years of lies and manipulation crumble in the harsh light of truth. Dean arrived just as the last police car pulled away. He wrapped his arms around me as reporters shouted questions in the background. "What now?" he asked softly. I watched Walsh's SUV speed away, thinking of all the evidence still being uncovered, all the people who had been hurt by their schemes. Now? I turned to face the cameras, ready to tell the whole story. Now we make sure everyone knows exactly what happened here. No more secrets, no more lies, and no more family loyalty? Dean asked. "Family loyalty has to be earned," I replied. "They lost that right long ago." The courthouse buzzed with tension as I took the witness stand. 3 months had passed since the arrests, and now I faced my family across the courtroom. Mom sat rigid in her designer suit, while Brinley dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, always the performer. "Please state your relationship to the defendants," the prosecutor said. "Daria Welch is my mother. Brinley Welch is my sister. And could you describe how they defrauded you and your husband?" I walked through everything, the pressure, the manipulation, the lies. With each detail, I watched Mom's facade crack further. Brinley had abandoned her tears, glaring at me with naked hatred. "You testified that your mother knew about the fraudulent nature of these investments from the beginning," the prosecutor continued. How can you be certain? Because she told me herself. I pulled out my phone, playing the recording from that final confrontation at the restaurant. Mom's voice filled the courtroom. The money's gone, Paige. It was gone before you invested. That's how these things work. Their lawyer jumped up. Objection. This recording was obtained legally, the judge interrupted. Overruled. During the cross-examination, their lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive daughter, jealous of my sister's success. Isn't it true that you always resented Brinley's entrepreneurial spirit? I resented being stolen from, I replied. There's a difference between entrepreneurship and fraud. And you never considered that this might destroy your family? They destroyed our family when they stole our life savings. I looked directly at Mom. When they chose money over their own daughter, the evidence mounted throughout the day. Ulysses testified about the shell companies. Ava presented documentation showing the broader conspiracy. Other victims came forward, families torn apart by similar schemes. During a break, Dean found me in the hallway. You're doing great, he said, pulling me close. I feel sick, I admitted. I keep seeing Mom's face when they played that recording. Remember what she did to us. He pulled back, meeting my eyes. Remember eating ramen for months while she helped Brinley plan their next scam. Back in the courtroom, Robert Walsh took the stand. He'd cut a deal, agreeing to testify against my family in exchange for a lighter sentence. Ms. Welch and her daughter were instrumental in our operation, he explained. They had a particular talent for manipulating family connections. How so? The prosecutor asked. Family members trust each other. When someone's mother vouches for an investment, they're more likely to ignore red flags. He gestured toward Mom. Daria was especially effective. She could convince anyone that these schemes were legitimate family businesses. Mom finally cracked. You promised we'd be protected, she shouted at Walsh. You said they'd never trace it back to us. The judge banged his gavel as the courtroom erupted. During closing arguments, the prosecutor displayed our empty bank statements alongside photos of Brinley's luxury purchases, designer bags, expensive cars, vacation homes. This wasn't just fraud, she concluded. This was a systematic betrayal of trust perpetrated by people who were supposed to protect their loved ones. The jury took less than 2 hours to reach a verdict. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of money laundering? Guilty. The charges continued. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Mom slumped in her chair. Brinley began to sob, real tears this time. When the judge asked if they had anything to say before sentencing, Mom stood up. Everything I did was for my daughters, she began. I only wanted... No. I stood up in the gallery. Don't you dare make this about us. This was about greed. Your greed. Brinley's greed. Order, the judge commanded. The sentences came down hard. 8 years for Mom, 12 for Brinley. Massive fines, asset forfeiture. As they were led away, Brinley turned to me one last time. I hope you're happy now. You've ruined everything. You ruined it, I called back. I just exposed the truth. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. How does it feel to send your family to prison? I faced the cameras, holding Dean's hand. They stopped being family the moment they decided to steal from us. Real family protects each other. Real family doesn't destroy lives for profit. Later that night, alone in our apartment, Dean found me staring at an old family photo. Having regrets? He asked softly. No. I turned the frame face down, just mourning the family I thought I had. We'll build a better one, he promised, one based on trust and honesty. I nodded, thinking of all the other families out there, potentially targeted by similar schemes. The detective called, I said. They want me to help with other cases like this, share our story, help other victims come forward. Dean smiled. From victim to advocate? Something like that. I squared my shoulders. They thought I was weak. Now they know better. The conference room fell silent as I finished speaking. Hundreds of faces looked back at me, many streaked with tears, others nodding in recognition of their own stories and mine. "Thank you, Paige," the moderator said, stepping up to the podium. "Does anyone have questions for our keynote speaker?" Dozens of hands shot up. A woman in the front row stood, her voice shaking. "How did you find the strength to turn them in? I suspect my brother is doing something similar, but I can't." "The strength comes from realizing that protecting them means enabling them," I replied. "Every person who stays silent becomes part of the fraud." After the conference, Ava met me in the lobby. "That was powerful. How many victims have come forward since you started speaking?" 43 families so far." I checked my phone. A text from Dean. "Great news. Call me." "Excuse me?" A man approached, extending his hand. "I'm Marcus from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. We've been following your advocacy work." "Oh?" I shook his hand, noting his serious expression. "Your case helped us crack open a nationwide network of family-based investment fraud. We'd like to offer you a position as a civilian consultant." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. "Hello? Paige?" The voice was familiar yet different, smaller. "It's Mom." My hand tightened on the phone. "What do you want?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking in here." She paused. "You were right about everything. Is this another manipulation?" "No," she sighed. "I'm in therapy now, real therapy. I see what we did to you, to everyone. I'm not asking for forgiveness." "Good," I cut in, "because you're not getting it." "I know, I just—" Another pause. "I wanted you to know you were right to stop us. We deserved this." I ended the call, turning back to Marcus. "About that consultant position, what exactly would it involve?" "Working with victims, helping us identify patterns, testifying in cases." He smiled. "You've become quite the expert in family fraud dynamics." "She has," Ava agreed. "You should see her support group. Hundreds of members now." My phone buzzed one more time. Dean again. I excused myself to call him back. "Remember that house we wanted, Chat?" he said without preamble. "The one we lost our savings over?" "Dean, it's back on the market. And guess what? The asset forfeiture from your mom and sister's case? Our restitution just came through." I sat down hard in a nearby chair. "How much?" "Enough for a down payment, plus some left over to really make it ours." Tears pricked my eyes. "The house we thought we lost forever." "Poetic justice, Cholmo," he said. "Want to go see it?" "Yes, but—" I looked at Marcus, still waiting patiently. "I need to finish something here first." I walked back to them, head high. "I'll take the position on one condition. I want to expand the victim support program. People need to know they're not alone in this." Marcus nodded. "Already in the budget. When can you start?" "Right now." I turned to Ava. "Want to help me draft a new presentation? Something about turning victims into advocates?" "Always." She grinned. "But first, don't you have a house to go look at?" An hour later, I stood in front of the colonial-style home we'd dreamed of, holding Dean's hand. The realtor unlocked the door, revealing hardwood floors and sun-filled rooms. "It's perfect," Dean whispered. "It's more than perfect." I squeezed his hand. "It's justice." My phone chimed. An email from the support group moderator. 10 new members today. Your speech inspired them to come forward." "You know what the best revenge is?" I asked Dean as we walked through our future home. "What's that?" "Building something good from something bad, taking their destruction and turning it into construction." He pulled me close. "Speaking of construction, that spare room would make a great office for your consulting work." "Or a nursery," I said quietly. He pulled back, eyes wide. "Are you—" "Not yet," I smiled. "But maybe it's time to start our own family. Show them how it's really done." The realtor appeared with papers. "Ready to make an offer?" I looked around the room. That would be ours. bought with the money recovered from those who tried to destroy us. Through the window I could see a garden, empty now, but full of potential. "Yes," I said firmly, "we're ready." Dean signed first, then handed me the pen. As I wrote my name, I thought about family, not the one that betrayed me, but the one I would build, one founded on truth, trust, and justice. The realtor beamed. "Congratulations, welcome home." Home, not just a house, but a symbol of everything we'd fought for, everything we'd won back. I took Dean's hand, stepping into our future. "Let's get started."
The note sat on my kitchen counter like a slap in the face. "Happy birthday, Freya. We're all at the Golden Lotus Spa for the day. Didn't think you'd want to join since you're always so busy with work. Love, Mom." I stared at the hastily scrawled message, my coffee going cold beside me. Of course they'd gone without me. On my birthday, to the most exclusive spa in the city, the one I'd been dropping hints about visiting for months. My name is Freya, and at 32, I'm the family disappointment, at least according to my mother's subtle jabs and my brother's constant reminders of his success. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, "Hey sis," Ashton's voice dripped with his usual smugness. "Mom said she left you a note. We're having the most amazing time. You should see this place. The massage alone costs more than you probably make in a week." I gripped the phone tighter. "Thanks for thinking of me." "Oh, come on, don't be like that. You're always working anyway. Hey, did I tell you about my new investment? Just closed a deal that'll net me another $1 million by summer." "That's great, Ash. Really great." I glanced at my laptop, where a very different kind of investment plan sat open in a hidden folder. "Listen, I should go. My boss is calling." "Still at that dead-end job? You know, if you just let me help." "Goodbye, Ash." I hung up and immediately dialed another number. "Marissa? Yeah, it's happening. Today." "Oh my God, finally." My best friend's excitement crackled through the speaker. "Meet you at our spot in 20? The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Marissa waved from our usual corner booth, 2 lattes already waiting. "Happy birthday, by the way," she said, sliding an envelope across the table, though I'm guessing it hasn't been very happy so far. I told her about the note and Ashton's call. "Your family is literally the worst," she said, shaking her head. "But are you sure you want to do this? It's a huge risk." I pulled out my laptop and opened the folders I'd been compiling for the past year. "Look at these numbers. The Golden Lotus is hemorrhaging money. Lauren's been keeping me updated on everything. Still can't believe the owner's been mentoring you all this time. Because, unlike my family, Lauren actually saw potential in me." I took a sip of my latte. "She's retiring. Wants to sell to someone who'll maintain the spa's reputation. The asking price is steep, but with my savings and the investors Lauren connected me with." "And your family has no idea you've been studying spa management?" I smiled. "They think I'm still just a secretary. Mom actually told me last week that at least it's honest work. Meanwhile, I've been taking night classes, working with Lauren, learning everything about the business." My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. "Having the most wonderful time. Wish you could appreciate these things like we do. Maybe next year." Marissa read the text over my shoulder and groaned. "They're literally taunting you now." Not for long. I opened my email and clicked send on a message I'd drafted weeks ago. I just confirmed my meeting with the bank, this afternoon. Wait, today? I thought, I'm done waiting. I closed my laptop with a snap. They're all at the spa right now, celebrating without me? Perfect. Let them enjoy it. Because soon enough, they'll be celebrating in my spa. Marissa leaned back, studying me. "You know there's no going back once you do this, right? Your family." "My family needs to learn that I'm more than just Ashton's disappointing little sister." I stood up, gathering my things. "I should get going. The bank meeting's at 2, and then I'm meeting Lauren to finalize everything." "Freya?" Marissa caught my arm as I turned to leave. "Just be careful, okay?" Revenge might feel good in the moment, but this isn't just about revenge. But even as I said it, I could feel the satisfaction building in my chest, imagining their faces when they realized the truth. It's about finally showing them who I really am. As I walked to my car, another text came through. A photo from Ashton of him and our parents lounging in plush robes, champagne glasses in hand. Living the life. Maybe someday you'll learn how to succeed like your big bro. I saved the photo. Soon it would be a reminder of the last time they underestimated me. Instead of heading to work, I turned toward the bank. Today wasn't just my birthday. It was the day I stopped being the family disappointment and became their worst nightmare. Lauren was already waiting in her office when I arrived at the Golden Lotus Spa. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see my family still lounging by the infinity pool, completely oblivious. Ready to make history? Lauren smiled, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. The bank approved everything, I said, pulling out the paperwork. Full financing, just like we planned. I never doubted you. She leaned forward, her expression turning serious. But Freya, there's something you need to know. The spa's finances are worse than we initially thought. My stomach dropped. How much worse? We're looking at about 30% more debt than the book showed. She slid a folder across the desk. The previous manager was creative with the accounting. I flipped through the documents, my hands trembling slightly. This could sink us before we even start. It could, Lauren agreed. Or it could be exactly the opportunity we need. The asking price just got a lot more negotiable. A knock at the door interrupted us. Ms. Lauren, your 3 o'clock massage clients are here. Through the glass wall, I saw my mother and father walking past, wrapped in plush robes. Duck, Lauren hissed, but I was already sliding under her desk. My mother's voice drifted through the door. Lauren, darling, what a wonderful day we're having. Susan, lovely to see you again. Lauren's voice was perfectly professional. I'll walk you to your treatment rooms. I held my breath until their footsteps faded. When I emerged, Lauren was back, shaking her head. This is insane, I muttered. I'm hiding from my own parents like a teenager. Speaking of your parents, Lauren said, they've been booking premium packages every month. Your brother, too. They're some of our biggest spenders. Of course they are. Ashton probably expenses it all to his company anyway. I grabbed my phone as it buzzed. Another text from him. Just booked the executive suite for next month, too. You should see these prices, sis. Oh, wait. Maybe don't look. Wouldn't want to depress you. Lauren read the text over my shoulder and whistled. Your brother's quite a piece of work. You have no idea. I showed her the string of messages from throughout the day. They've been like this for years. Every success, every luxury, thrown in my face like proof of my failure. Well, Lauren said, pulling out another folder, let's talk about turning those luxuries into your success. I've drafted a complete renovation plan. We'll need it to turn this place around. For the next hour, we pored over blueprints and budgets. Lauren had taught me everything about spa management over the past year, but seeing the full scope of what we were about to undertake was daunting. The staff might be the biggest challenge, Lauren warned. Many of them have been here for years. They're loyal, but resistant to change. I've been studying them for months, I said. Maria in accounting is brilliant but underutilized. James at the front desk has amazing ideas for modernizing our booking system. And Anna in marketing? She's wasted on basic social media posts. Lauren's eyebrows shot up. You've really done your homework. I had to. This isn't just about getting back at my family. I want to make this place even better than it already is. My phone buzzed again. A message from Marissa. How's it going? Did you sign yet? Before I could respond, voices approached Lauren's office. Through the glass, I saw Ashton walking with one of the massage therapists, gesturing grandly. And really, he was saying loudly enough for us to hear, Anyone who can't afford this kind of treatment simply isn't trying hard enough. Look at my sister, always complaining about money, but she won't take my advice about investments. The massage therapist nodded politely, clearly uncomfortable. I turned to Lauren. How soon can we close this deal? She smiled, pulling out a final set of documents. Right now, if you're ready. I've had these prepared for weeks. My hands shook as I took the pen. Outside, I could hear Ashton still holding court, my parents' laughter joining his. Just think, Lauren said softly. In about 10 minutes, every treatment they're enjoying will be putting money in your pocket instead of draining theirs. I signed my name with a flourish. When do you want to tell the staff? I've called an all-hands meeting for tomorrow morning. Your family's booked until 5. Plenty of time for you to get out of here without them seeing you. As I gathered my things, another text came through from my mother. Just booked our next family spa day. Well, family minus you, of course. But you understand, this place is for people who appreciate the finer things. I showed Lauren the message, and she laughed. Oh, they have no idea what's coming, do they? No, I said, tucking the signed ownership papers into my bag. But they're about to find out. The staff meeting was set for 8 a.m., but I arrived at 6:30, pacing the empty lobby of what was now my spa. My spa. The words still felt surreal. You look like you're about to throw up, Marissa said, appearing with 2 coffee cups. Here, you'll need this. What if they hate me? What if they all quit? I grabbed the coffee desperately. What if... Stop! Marissa grabbed my shoulders. You've been preparing for this for a year. Lauren believes in you. I believe in you. Now you just need to make them believe in you. The first employees started arriving at 7:45. I recognized each face from my months of observation. Maria from accounting, her glasses slightly askew. James from the front desk, already checking his tablet. Anna from marketing, creative energy practically radiating off her. At 8 a.m. sharp, Lauren called everyone to attention. Thank you all for coming in early, she began. As you know, I'm retiring. What you don't know is that I've found the perfect person to take over. I stepped forward, my heart hammering. The room erupted in whispers. Wait, Maria said. Aren't you that regular guest sister? The one they're always talking about? Yes, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I'm Freya, and I know what you're thinking, that I'm just some rich family member who bought their way in. But I've been studying this industry for the past year, learning everything about this spa, about all of you. I turned to Maria. You created an entirely new accounting system that corporate ignored. To James, your booking app proposal would revolutionize our scheduling. To Anna, and your marketing ideas are exactly what we need to attract younger clients. The whispers turned to interested murmurs. I have plans, I continued, to make this place even better. But I need your help, your ideas, your expertise. What about our jobs? Someone called out. Everyone keeps their position, I assured them, with potential for advancement based on merit, not seniority. And the first order of business is a complete review of salaries and benefits. That got their attention. For the next hour, we discussed changes, improvements, fears, and hopes. By the end, even the most skeptical employees were contributing ideas. Then my phone buzzed. Ashton. Hey sis, guess what? Just booked the whole family for a spa day next week. Even got you an appointment. Time to stop being such a workaholic. My hands shook as I showed Lauren the message. Perfect timing, she said. The ownership transfer will be public record by then. Freya? It was Anna from marketing. I couldn't help but notice. Your family doesn't know about this, do they? No, I admitted. They don't. Then I have an idea. She pulled out her tablet, eyes sparkling. What if we... But before she could finish, Maria burst into the room, face pale. We have a problem, she said. A big one. I was reviewing the accounts and there's a tax lien on the property. A hidden one. If we don't pay it within 48 hours, we could lose everything. The room went silent. How much? I asked. Maria named a figure that made my knees weak. That's more than all my liquid assets combined, I whispered. I might have a solution, James spoke up. But you're not going to like it. Try me. Your brother. He's always bragging about his investment strategies, right? What if we could borrow them? What do you mean? James smiled. Every time he's here, he talks loudly on his phone about his trades. I've been noting them down out of curiosity. He's got a pattern. If we follow it. I started. Brilliant, Marissa finished. Use his own strategy against him. It's perfect. But risky, Lauren warned. If it doesn't work, we lose everything anyway, I said. James, show me what you've got. For the next hour, we huddled over James's notes, mapping out Ashton's investment patterns. It was aggressive, but if it worked. I can't believe I'm doing this, I muttered, making the final trade on my phone. Believe it, Marissa said. And while we wait, let's hear Anna's marketing idea. Something tells me it's going to be good. Anna grinned, pulling up a mock-up on her tablet. Picture this. Next week, when your family arrives, they'll see something very special on all our digital displays. As she explained her plan, I felt a wild mix of terror and excitement. In 48 hours, I'd either lose everything or secure my revenge in the most spectacular way possible. My phone buzzed again, a family group text from my mother. Next week will be amazing. Full day of pampering at our favorite place. Freya, do try to make it this time. It's not healthy to always be working. I looked around at my new team, all of them now invested in my success, all of them ready to help prove my family wrong. Oh, don't worry, Mom, I muttered. I wouldn't miss this for the world. The next 48 hours were the longest of my life. I barely slept, constantly checking the investment tracking app on my phone. Following Ashton's pattern was like riding a roller coaster blindfolded. Up another 12%, Marissa announced, watching the numbers climb. We were camped out in Lauren's, now my office, surrounded by empty coffee cups and half-eaten takeout. Not enough, Maria said, tapping her calculator. We need at least 20% more to cover the tax lien. My phone rang. Ashton. Should I answer it? I asked the room. Put it on speaker, Lauren suggested. Hey, big brother, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Freya, you'll never believe what just happened. Remember that tech stock I was telling you about? Up 40% today. This is why you should listen to your successful big brother more often. I muted the phone and looked at James. Is that the same stock we... He nodded, grinning. I unmuted. That's amazing, Ash. Any other hot tips? Well... He lowered his voice conspiratorially. I'm moving heavy into biotech tomorrow morning, but that's probably too rich for your blood. Hey, you're still coming to the spa day next week, right? Mom's worried you're becoming a hermit. Oh, I'll be there, I said. Wouldn't miss it for anything. After hanging up, I turned to James. How much do we have in reserve? Enough to follow his biotech play, he said. But it's risky. If it fails... Do it, I decided. He's never wrong about these things. His ego wouldn't allow it. The next morning, I walked into the spa to find Anna waiting excitedly by the front desk. You have to see this, she said, pulling me to the new digital display wall we'd installed. I worked all night on the reveal campaign. The screen cycled through elegant images of the spa's services, but every few slides, my face appeared. Professional. Confident, with the title Owner and CEO beneath it. These will go live the moment your family walks in next week, Anna explained. Every screen in the building will change simultaneously. It's perfect, I breathed. But first we have to survive the next 24 hours. Right on cue, Maria burst out of the accounting office. The biotech stocks, they're climbing. We crowded around her computer, watching the numbers tick up. 10%, 15, 20. Come on, I whispered. Just a little more. My phone buzzed. Another group text from my mother. Just bought new spa robes for everyone for next week. Well, everyone but Freya, since she probably won't come anyway. But they're monogrammed. Oh, I hope they kept the receipt, Marissa muttered. Suddenly, James let out a whoop. 30%. We did it. We actually did it. Maria quickly ran the numbers. With this return, we can cover the tax lien and still have operating capital left over. Lauren squeezed my shoulder. I knew you could do it. Now, should we call the tax office, or would you like to deliver the check in person? In person, I said. I want to see their faces when they have to remove that lien. 2 hours later, I walked out of the tax office with official documentation that the Golden Lotus Spa was fully clear of all encumbrances. My phone buzzed again. Ashton. Baby sis, that biotech stock just cashed out for a 60% gain. This is why I'm the financial genius in the family. Speaking of which, I just booked an extra-long massage for next week. You should see what these treatments cost. I smiled, thinking about where his money would soon be going. That sounds wonderful, Ash. I'm definitely coming this time. Really? He sounded genuinely surprised. Well, finally ready to live a little. Don't worry about the cost. I know it's probably way over your budget. I'll cover it this once. That's so generous of you, I said, gritting my teeth. Hey, quick question. What time is everyone arriving next week? 10 a.m. sharp. Mom's insisting we all get there early to make a full day of it. She's even making Dad wear the new monogrammed robe. Perfect. Just as Anna had planned. Back at the spa, the staff was gathered for a celebration. Lauren had brought champagne, and Maria was distributing copies of the cleared tax documents. A toast, Lauren announced, to our new owner, who just pulled off the impossible. And, Anna added with a wicked grin, to next week's show. I've finished programming all the displays. The moment they walk in, she demonstrated the sequence on her tablet. The entire staff burst into applause. Are you ready for this? Marissa asked quietly. Once it happens, there's no going back. I thought about all the dismissive texts, the condescending comments, the years of being treated like a failure. I'm ready, I said. 1 week from now, everything changes. My phone buzzed one final time. A photo from my mother of the new spa robes, monogrammed with everyone's names but mine. Perfect, I murmured, showing the picture to Lauren. They have no idea they're about to be wearing robes with their least favorite family member's logo on them. The morning of the reveal, I arrived at the spa at 7 a.m., my stomach in knots. The staff was already busy preparing, an excited energy buzzing through the building. Everything's ready, Anna reported, checking her tablet. All displays are programmed. At exactly 10 a.m. when they walk in. Show me one more time, I said. She pulled up the sequence. Elegant spa footage transitioning smoothly into my professional headshots. The new logo, and finally, the announcement of new ownership. It was subtle but unmistakable. Marketing materials are all updated too, she added, pointing to the stack of new brochures at the front desk. Your signature is now on everything. Maria appeared with a stack of papers. First month's financials under your ownership. We're already showing a 15% increase in bookings. Thanks to James's new booking system, I said, watching him demonstrate the app to a group of employees. My phone buzzed. Ashton. On our way. Mom's so excited about those new robes. She had them specially made by some fancy designer. Can't wait for you to see what real luxury looks like. Lauren appeared at my elbow. Are you sure you don't want to be in the lobby when they arrive? No, I said. I want to watch from my office. Let them process it first. Speaking of processing, Marissa said, walking in with coffee and breakfast, I brought fuel. You haven't eaten since yesterday. I can't eat. I feel like I'm about to jump off a cliff. More like you're about to push them off one, she replied with a grin. At 9:45, the staff gathered for final preparations. I'd given everyone specific instructions. Treat my family exactly as usual. Say nothing about the ownership change unless directly asked. They're here, James called from the front desk at 9:55. Just pulled into the parking lot. I hurried to my office, Marissa and Lauren following. Through the one-way glass, we had a perfect view of the lobby. Right on time, I muttered as my family walked through the doors at exactly 10 a.m. My mother led the way, carrying garment bags with the designer robes. My father followed, already looking bored. And Ashton, phone in hand, probably tweeting about his luxurious lifestyle. 3, 2, 1, Anna whispered into her headset. The displays flickered. My family paused mid-stride. What's this? My mother asked, staring at my face on the largest screen. Ashton laughed. Must be some kind of mistake. There's no way. The announcement text appeared beneath my image. Welcome to the new Golden Lotus Spa, under the ownership of Freya. My mother dropped the garment bags. This is a joke. It has to be. James stepped forward smoothly. Good morning. Welcome to the Golden Lotus Spa. Your new robes will be provided in your lockers, all featuring our updated logo. Updated logo? My father asked, speaking for the first time. Yes, sir. All of our branding was refreshed last week under the new ownership. Ashton grabbed a brochure from the front desk, his face turning pale as he saw my signature at the bottom. This is impossible, he sputtered. She doesn't have this kind of money. She can't even afford a basic membership here. Actually, sir, Maria said, appearing with a folder, all of your previous payments have been transferred to the new ownership account. Would you like to review the documentation? My mother sank into a lobby chair. All this time, when you said you were working. She's in her office, I heard James tell them. Would you like me to announce you? Through the glass, I watched my brother's face turn from shock to anger. Her office? You mean Lauren's office? No, sir. Ms. Lauren retired last week. Ms. Freya's office. My phone buzzed one final time. A family group text from my mother. Freya, if you're really here, we need to talk. Now. I looked at Marissa and Lauren. Ready? Are you? Marissa asked. I straightened my designer suit, the first thing I'd bought after the ownership transfer, and checked my reflection. Gone was the timid sister they'd always dismissed. In her place stood someone they'd have to reckon with. Send them up, I told James through the intercom. I heard their footsteps approaching, saw their shadows through the frosted glass door. Remember, Lauren whispered, you earned this. Every bit of it. The door handle turned. I sat behind my desk, forcing myself to remain calm as my family filed in. Their faces were a mix of shock, anger, and, most satisfyingly, fear. Hello, family, I said, gesturing to the chairs in front of my desk. Welcome to my spa. Shall we talk about those new robes you brought? I'm afraid they don't quite match our updated branding. The look on their faces made every second of the past year worth it. How dare you? My mother's voice trembled with rage. How dare you go behind our backs like this? Behind your backs? I leaned forward. Like you went behind mine on my birthday? That was different, Ashton snapped. We were celebrating. You were working, like always. I was working, I agreed, on buying this place. Every time you came here bragging about your investments, I was learning. Every time you mocked my dead-end job, I was planning? Planning to deceive us, my mother said. No, planning to succeed. There's a difference. I pulled out the folder of financial reports. The spa's profits are up 15% since I took over. Bookings have increased. Staff morale is higher than ever. Impossible, Ashton scoffed. You don't know the first thing about running a business. Actually, Lauren stepped forward, Freya has been studying under me for the past year. She knows this business inside and out. You, my mother pointed an accusing finger. You helped her with this betrayal? I helped her achieve her potential, Lauren corrected. Something her family should have done. My father, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. The money. Where did you get the money for this? Would you believe me if I said I learned from the best? I smiled at Ashton. Your investment strategies are quite effective when properly documented. Thanks for all those loud phone calls in the lobby. Ashton's face went from red to purple. You spied on my trades? I learned from my successful big brother. I mimicked his condescending tone. Isn't that what you always wanted? This is ridiculous. My mother stood up. We're leaving, and we're never coming back to this place. That's your choice, I said calmly. But you should know, there isn't another spa of this caliber within 100 miles. And your memberships here are quite extensive. Non-refundable too. You wouldn't dare cancel them, Ashton threatened. Cancel them? Of course not. You're valued customers. I pressed the intercom. James, please show my family to their scheduled treatments. The usual rooms. Right away, Miss Freya. And, I added, please make sure they receive their new robes. The ones with the updated logo. My mother's face tightened. Those designer robes cost a fortune. And they're lovely, I'm sure. But they don't meet our branding requirements. Don't worry. We'll store them safely while you enjoy our new signature robes, with my name on them. This isn't over, Ashton growled, standing up. You're right, I agreed. It's just beginning. Oh, and Ash? Those biotech stocks you were so proud of? I made the same trades. Thanks for the tip. It really helped cover the tax lien. He froze. You learned from the best? I finished. That's what family's for, right? James appeared at the door. Your treatments are ready. My mother looked at the new robes James was carrying, each emblazoned with my logo. We don't have to stay. Of course not, I said. But you've already paid. And isn't that what you always taught me? Never waste money? They filed out slowly, defeated but seething. Only my father lingered. You planned this whole thing, he said quietly. All of it. I learned from watching you all, I replied. How to be ruthless, how to put business first, how to treat family. Something flickered in his eyes. Was it respect? Regret? But before he could speak, my mother called him from the hallway. After they left, Marissa burst out laughing. That was amazing! Did you see their faces when they saw the new robes? It's not over, Lauren warned. They'll try to retaliate. Let them, I said, watching through the glass as my family was led to their treatment rooms, each wearing a robe with my name on it. Everything they do here now just puts money in my pocket. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashton. You think you're so clever? Just wait. You have no idea what's coming. I showed the message to Lauren and Marissa. Are you worried? Marissa asked. No, I said, watching through the security cameras as Ashton paced in his treatment room, angrily typing on his phone. For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I want to be. Ms. Freya? Anna poked her head in. The photographer is here for the website update. Should we proceed with the photo shoot in the lobby? I smiled thinking of how those photos would look on all the displays my family would have to walk past. Absolutely. Let's show them exactly who's in charge now. As I walked to the lobby, I passed the treatment room where my mother sat fuming in a robe bearing my name. Sometimes revenge doesn't just feel good. It feels absolutely perfect. 3 days after the reveal, Ashton made his move. I was in a staff meeting when Maria burst in, waving her tablet. They're trying to tank us, she announced. Your brother just posted a scathing review on every platform possible. 1-star ratings, accusations of theft, fraud, everything. I grabbed the tablet. The reviews were vicious. New owner acquired spa through deception. Avoid at all costs. Staff are complicit in fraudulent takeover. He's convinced half our regular clients to cancel their memberships, James added, checking the booking system. We've lost 30 appointments just this morning. That's not all, Anna said grimly. Local business pages are picking up the story. Family drama at luxury spa. Sister's hostile takeover sparks controversy. My phone rang. My mother. Ready to give up yet? She asked without preamble. Ashton's friends are very influential in the business community. This is just the beginning. Is that why you called? To gloat? No. I called to offer you a way out. Sell the spa back to Lauren. We'll forget this little incident ever happened. I put the phone on speaker. Lauren, would you like to respond to that? Sorry, Susan. Lauren's voice was steel sharp. The spa is exactly where it belongs. Then you'll both go down together, my mother snapped and hung up. She's right about one thing, Maria said. We're hemorrhaging bookings. I turned to Anna. How fast can you put together a response campaign? Give me an hour. But, she hesitated. Maybe we should fight fire with fire? I have some dirt on your brother's business practices. No, I said firmly. We do this right. Professional. Transparent. I have an idea, James said suddenly. Remember all those client satisfaction surveys we've been collecting? The ones showing our improved services? Perfect. Anna's eyes lit up. We can create a response video. Real clients, real testimonials. Show the positive changes under new management. And I can release the financial reports, Maria added. Prove everything was done legally. My phone buzzed. Ashton again. Enjoying the reviews, sis? This is what happens when you try to play in the big leagues. Ms. Freya? A staff member appeared at the door. Your father is here. He's asking to speak with you. I found him waiting in the lobby, looking uncomfortable in his business suit. Come to add your own bad review? I asked. No, he said quietly. I came to warn you. Ashton, he's not just using social media. He's calling in favors from business associates, trying to get the health department to investigate us, the tax office to audit us. Why are you telling me this? He shifted uncomfortably. Because what they're doing, it's wrong. And what we did to you all these years, that was wrong too. Dad, let me finish. I watched you grow up being dismissed, ignored. I did nothing. But watching you these past few days, seeing how you run this place, how the staff respects you. He pulled out his phone. I've been taking screenshots of Ashton's messages to his friends, planning this attack. If you need them. Before I could respond, my mother stormed in. Charles, what are you doing here? Supporting our daughter, he said, straightening up. For once. She betrayed us. No, he replied. We betrayed her. Every day. For years. My mother's face reddened. If you do this, if you take her side, then you'll what? I interrupted. Exclude him from spa days? Write him off like you did me? You have no right. I have every right, I said. This is my spa. I earned it. And if you and Ashton want to try to destroy it, go ahead. But remember, I learned everything I know about being ruthless from watching my family. Anna appeared with her tablet. The response video is ready. Should I post it? I looked at my parents. Would you like to see what real success looks like? The video was perfect. Clients praising the improvements, staff sharing their expanded roles, before and after shots of our renovations. And threading through it all, the story of how a dedicated team and new leadership had transformed the spa. It's already getting shares, Anna reported. Positive comments coming in. My father nodded approvingly. You've built something real here. Charles, my mother snapped. We're leaving, now. He handed me his phone. Here, use these if you need to. And Freya? I'm sorry. For everything. After they left, I looked at the screenshots he'd given me. Evidence of Ashton's coordinated attack. Proof of his business manipulation. Should we use them? Marissa asked, reading over my shoulder. No, I decided. We do this our way. Anna, post the video. Maria, release the financial reports. James, call our loyal clients personally. And Ashton's attacks? I smiled, watching our response video gain traction online. Let him try. Some of us succeed by building things up, not tearing them down. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from my father. Proud of you, kiddo. Always should have been. The morning sun streamed through the spa's windows as I reviewed the latest numbers with Maria. Our response to Ashton's attacks had worked better than we'd hoped.
Bookings are up 40%, Maria reported. And look at this. We've got a waiting list for memberships. Nothing makes something more desirable than trying to tear it down, Lauren observed, sipping her morning tea. My phone buzzed. Ashton. I'd been ignoring his calls for days, but this time I answered. What do you want? We need to talk, he said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. In person, please. The spa is booked solid today. I know, I've been watching the parking lot fill up. Just 15 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I looked at Lauren, who nodded. Fine, 15 minutes. He arrived looking disheveled, nothing like his usual polished self. Your response video went viral. I know. My client saw it. My investors saw it. Do you know what it's like having people ask why I tried to destroy my sister's successful business? Actually, I do. It feels a lot like having your brother mock your career choices for years. He flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot more. Look. He ran his hands through his hair. I was wrong. Not just about the spa. About everything. The way I treated you. The things I said. Save it. I cut him off. I'm not interested in apologies. Is that all? No. He pulled out his phone. I posted this an hour ago. You should read it. It was a public statement on his business page. I owe my sister Freya an apology. My recent attacks on her spa were driven by jealousy and wounded pride. She built something remarkable through hard work and vision. Qualities I've claimed to value but failed to recognize in her. I'm retracting all my previous statements and urging my followers to experience the excellent service at Golden Lotus Spa for themselves. Ashton, wait, there's more. He opened his briefcase. I want to invest. Properly, legally, as a silent partner. You'd retain full control, but with my backing, you could expand. Open new locations. I stared at him. Why? Because you're better at this than I am, he admitted. You took everything I thought I knew about business and proved me wrong. And because I miss my sister. Before I could respond, my mother burst in, waving her phone. Have you seen what your brother posted? This is unacceptable. He's damaging his reputation for... She stopped short, seeing us both. Hello, Mom, I said calmly. We were just discussing business. Business? She looked between us. Ashton, you can't seriously be considering... I already have, he interrupted. And you should too. Look around, Mom. Look what Freya built while we were too busy looking down on her to notice. Just then, James appeared. Ms. Freya? The journalist is here for the business magazine interview. Send her up in 5 minutes, I said, then turned to my mother. You're welcome to stay and watch. See how a real business owner operates. My mother's face softened slightly. Your father, he's been talking about you nonstop. About how proud he is. Good for Dad, I said. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an interview. Wait, Ashton said. The investment offer? Will you consider it? I looked at the proposal, then at my brother's face, genuinely hopeful for the first time I could remember. I'll have my team review it, I said. No promises. He nodded, understanding the shift in power. That's fair. After they left, Marissa appeared with coffee. Well, that was unexpected. Life usually is, Lauren said. Speaking of which, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter transferring her remaining advisory shares to me. Lauren, you don't have to... Yes, I do. You've exceeded every expectation I had. The spa is yours, completely and totally. The journalist entered, notebook ready. Ms. Freya, shall we begin? I sat behind my desk, thinking of everything that had led to this moment. The dismissal, the planning,
the revenge that had somehow transformed into something more meaningful. "Yes," I said. "Let me tell you about building something that matters." Later that evening, as I walked through the spa, I passed the wall of photos, my family's old promotional shots now replaced with images of our staff, our satisfied clients, our community involvement. My phone buzzed one last time. A group text from my father. "Dinner soon? Just us?" I smiled, typing back, "Yes, but this time, I'm buying." The sun set over the spa, my spa, painting the windows, gold. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying what others have, but building something they never thought you could. And sometimes, just sometimes, it leads to building something even better. A new understanding, a new respect, a new beginning. I turned off the lights in my office, leaving the success I'd built to rest until tomorrow. After all, I had a dinner to plan with my father.
I spent 3 hours getting ready for my own ambush. The irony isn't lost on me now, curling my hair into loose waves, applying that overpriced lipstick Yusuf once said made me look like a 1940s film star. I'd chosen the black dress with the open back, the one that made me feel powerful in court and desirable at home. My reflection had whispered back reassurances. "You've got this, Sadie." He'll be speechless. He was speechless, all right, just not for the reasons I'd imagined. The restaurant had been my idea, Luciana's, where we'd had our first date 7 years ago. I'd arranged everything meticulously. The private back room with its warm amber lighting, the champagne already chilling, our closest friends waiting. The perfect surprise for our anniversary. "He's 2 minutes out," Rebecca texted, stationed as lookout in the parking lot. My heart fluttered as I smoothed invisible wrinkles from my dress. Around me, our friends whispered excitedly, glasses of wine already half empty. The candles on the table caught the facets of my wedding ring, throwing tiny rainbows against the wall. "Places, everyone," I whispered, and the room fell to hushed giggles. The door handle turned. I held my breath. And then, 2 silhouettes in the doorway instead of one. "Surprise!" everyone shouted, before the collective intake of breath that followed made the candles flicker. Yusuf stood frozen, his arm around his secretary's waist. Ava's hand was tucked into the back pocket of his jeans, the jeans I'd bought him last Christmas. Her red fingernails against the dark denim seared into my vision like a brand. Sadie. My name in his mouth sounded foreign suddenly. "What is this?" I couldn't speak. The room tilted slightly. "I think it's supposed to be your anniversary party," Ava said, her voice dripping with something worse than mockery. Pity. The silence expanded, becoming a living thing that swallowed the oxygen in the room. I watched Yusuf's face transition from shock to calculation to decision. He straightened his shoulders, kept his arm firmly around Ava. "Well," he said, looking directly at me, "this is awkward timing." Rebecca appeared at my side, her hand finding mine. "I was going to tell you tomorrow," Yusuf continued, as if explaining a minor scheduling conflict. "Ava and we've been seeing each other. I've filed for divorce." The words hit like separate blows. Seeing each other. Filed. Divorce. 3 months, Ava added helpfully, twisting a strand of her perfect hair. It just happened so naturally. 3 months. 90 days of lies. 90 mornings he'd kissed me goodbye while carrying her scent. "You filed already?" My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Hollow, distant. "It's better this way," Yusuf said, his lawyer voice emerging. "Clean break. My lawyer will contact you Monday." Someone gasped. I think it was Kennedy, my business partner, who knew exactly what this meant. Yusuf had prepared. He'd strategized. While I'd been planning an anniversary surprise, he'd been planning my disposal. "How long have you been planning this?" I asked, surprising myself with how steady I sounded. His eyes flickered, the tell he had when lying in poker. "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." 6 weeks, he admitted. My lawyer suggested... Which lawyer? The room was spinning, but this detail suddenly seemed crucial. "Michael's. Thomas Michaels, the divorce attorney known for hiding assets and destroying the financially weaker spouse. The shark we'd joked about at dinner parties. You're using Michaels against me. The betrayal within the betrayal landed like a physical blow. Yusuf at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Sadie, let's not do this here. Where should we do it? At home? Our home that you're probably trying to take from me too? Ava sighed theatrically. This is exactly why he needed to move on. The drama. I looked at her. Really looked at her. 29, according to her employment file. 9 years my junior. The woman who'd brought Yusuf coffee every morning while I was in court. Who'd scheduled our dinner reservations, who'd sent me flowers from him on my birthday. How long were you planning this? I asked her directly. She smiled, a small victorious curl of her lips. Long enough to know he deserves better. The room blurred. I felt Rebecca's arm around my waist, steadying me. Everyone out, Kennedy announced to the stunned guests. Party's over. People shuffled past, murmuring apologies and avoiding eye contact. Some shot daggers at Yusuf. Others just looked embarrassed to witness my humiliation. When the room emptied except for Rebecca and Kennedy flanking me like sentinels, Yusuf finally removed his arm from Ava. I'll get my things tomorrow while you're at work, he said. It's better this way. Better for whom? I finally asked. For everyone, he replied, and I saw the man I'd loved disappear completely behind the stranger's eyes. You'll thank me someday. They left together, her perfume lingering like a taunt. I stood motionless in the beautiful room I'd decorated, surrounded by cooling food and melting ice. The anniversary playlist I'd carefully curated still played softly in the background, our song coming on just as the door closed behind them. I'll kill him, Rebecca whispered. No, I said, surprising myself with the clarity cutting through my shock. That would be too quick. I picked up my untouched champagne and drained it in one swallow. Sadie, Kennedy's voice was cautious. He thinks he's won, I said, setting down the empty glass. He thinks I'll crumble. I walked to the door, my legs somehow carrying me forward when everything inside me wanted to collapse. He has no idea who he married. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, Yusuf's arm around Ava's waist, her red nails against his jeans, my husband. Dawn found me sitting at our kitchen island, surrounded by the wreckage of what I'd thought was my life. Wedding photos face down. A half-empty bottle of expensive scotch Yusuf had been saving for a special occasion. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed with Rebecca's 10th text since she'd dropped me home. Still awake? Coming over with breakfast? I didn't respond. Couldn't. The words wouldn't form. Instead, I dragged myself upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and stood in the doorway. The bed was still made from yesterday morning, when I'd smoothed the comforter and plumped the pillows, thinking I'd return to it with my husband. A husband who'd been planning to leave me for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I walked to his closet and yanked open the door. His suits hung in perfect order, navy, charcoal, black. The shirts organized by color, the ties arranged by pattern. Everything in its place, just like our marriage had seemed. My fingers trailed across the fabrics. How many of these had I helped him choose? How many times had I straightened his tie before important meetings? All while he was planning his exit strategy. I grabbed a handful of ties and pulled. They slithered from the rack like falling snakes. The doorbell rang, startling me from my destruction. Rebecca. I should have known she'd come anyway. I opened the door to find her holding a bakery bag and coffee tray, her eyes puffy from crying for me. You look like hell, she said, pushing past me into the house. Thanks. Have you slept? I shook my head. Eaten? Another head shake. Well, you're going to eat now. She marched into the kitchen, setting down her offerings. And then, we're going to figure out how to destroy him. A laugh escaped me, harsh and unfamiliar. You sound like me in court. I've heard you enough times. She pushed a coffee into my hands. Drink. I obeyed, the hot liquid burning my throat, reminding me I was still alive, still here. The pain felt good, real. He's using Thomas Michaels, I said after a moment. Do you know what that means? Rebecca nodded grimly. Kennedy told me. He's going for your throat. Professionally and financially. I took another scalding sip. Michaels specializes in hiding assets and destroying reputations. He'll try to take the firm. Can he do that? He can try. I set down the coffee. Yusuf's name is on half the paperwork, even though he hasn't contributed in years. He rode my success while screwing his secretary. Rebecca reached across the counter and gripped my hand. What do you need? Time. Information. I pulled away, suddenly restless. I need to know what I'm up against. What does that mean? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I walked to the living room window, staring out at the neighborhood waking up. Normal people starting normal days, unaware that my world had imploded. Sadie. I need to know about her, I finally said. About Ava. The secretary. Rebecca followed me. What about her? Everything. How long she's been planning this. What she knows. What she wants. I turned to face my friend. This wasn't spontaneous, Rebecca. You saw them last night. They were comfortable, practiced. You think she targeted him? I think nothing in my life is what I thought it was. The realization hit me fresh, a wave of nausea rising. I need to know if I've been played from the beginning. Rebecca was quiet for a moment, watching me carefully. What are you thinking of doing? Nothing illegal. Not yet, anyway. Just research, background checks, the kind of thing we do for every case. Let me help. I shook my head. You have Arthur, the kids. I can't drag you into my mess. You're not dragging me anywhere. I'm walking in voluntarily. She crossed her arms. Besides, Arthur already offered to help. He's furious. The mention of Arthur, Rebecca's steady, kind husband, brought a fresh ache. They'd been our closest friends. Double dates, vacations together, holidays. How much of that had been real for Yusuf? My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. He's coming for your files today. Back up everything. K. Kennedy, warning me. I have to go to the office, I said, suddenly alert. Now. What? Why? I showed her the text. Yusuf's making his move. If he gets to the firm's files before I do, I'm finished. Rebecca grabbed her purse. I'll drive. As we rushed to the car, another text came through, this one from Yusuf. Coming by at noon to get my things. Please don't be there. Let's keep this civil. Civil. As if ambushing me at my own anniversary party had been civil. Change of plans, I told Rebecca, a cold clarity washing over me. Take me to the mall first. The mall? Sadie, your files. Kennedy will handle it. I need to buy a nanny cam. I fastened my seatbelt, my mind suddenly terrifyingly clear. If Yusuf wants to play dirty, he should remember who taught him every trick he knows. Rebecca's eyes widened, then narrowed with understanding. She started the car. The game is on, she said, pulling away from the curb. I nodded, the hollow feeling in my chest giving way to something harder, sharper. And this time, I'm writing the rules. The nanny cam looked like an ordinary phone charger. That was the point. I plugged it into the outlet behind Yusuf's bedside table, his side of the bed, and positioned it toward the closet. If he was coming for his things, I wanted to see exactly what he took. Are you sure this is legal? Rebecca asked, hovering in the doorway. In my own home? Absolutely. I adjusted the angle slightly. Besides, I'm not recording audio, just video. And what exactly are you hoping to catch? I straightened up, meeting her eyes. Evidence. The word hung between us, heavy with implication. Rebecca didn't ask for clarification, and I didn't offer it. Some things are better left unsaid between friends, plausible deniability and all that. My phone buzzed. Kennedy again. Office secured. Files backed up. Where are you? I texted back. Home. Setting up surveillance. Meet at your place at 2. Her response was immediate. Bring wine. I almost smiled. Almost. We should go, I told Rebecca. I don't want to be here when he arrives. As we headed for the door, I paused in the hallway, my hand trailing along the wall where our wedding photos used to hang. I'd taken them down at dawn, Unable to look at his smiling face anymore, the empty hooks remained like scars on the wall. "You okay?" Rebecca asked softly. "No," I admitted. "But I will be." We left through the back door. I couldn't bear to see Yusuf pull into the driveway, couldn't trust myself not to confront him. Not yet. Not until I had a plan. Kennedy's condo was a minimalist's dream. All clean lines and empty spaces. No photos, no mementos, nothing personal on display. It suited her. Kennedy kept her private life private, even from friends. Especially from friends. "You look like shit," she greeted me, holding open the door. "So I've been told." She took the wine from my hands and led us to her kitchen. 3 laptops were open on the counter, screens filled with documents and spreadsheets. "You've been busy," I observed. "I've been covering our arses." She poured 3 generous glasses of wine. "Yusuf showed up at the office with Michaels an hour after I got your text. They demanded access to all client files." My stomach dropped. And I told them to get a court order." Kennedy's smile was razor-sharp. "Then I reminded Michaels that half those clients are mine, not yours or Yusuf's, and if he wanted a legal battle over client privilege, I'd be happy to oblige." Relief washed over me. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." She slid a laptop toward me. "This is bad, Sadie. Really bad." I looked at the screen. Financial records. Our joint accounts, nearly empty. "He cleaned you out," Rebecca whispered, looking over my shoulder. "Not everything," I said, scrolling through the transactions. "Just the joint accounts. He can't touch my personal accounts without a court order." "Which Michaels will get," Kennedy pointed out. "And soon." I took a long drink of wine, letting the information settle. "How much time do we have?" "A week. Maybe less." Kennedy pulled up another screen. "I've been doing some digging on your husband's new girlfriend." My chest tightened at the word girlfriend, such an innocent term for the woman who'd helped destroy my marriage. "What did you find?" "Not much, which is interesting in itself." Kennedy tapped the screen. "Ava Rice, 29, started at your firm 2 years ago. Before that, nothing. No social media, no previous employment records I can access, no credit history before 2018. "That's not possible," Rebecca interjected. "Everyone has a history." "Everyone has a history," Kennedy agreed. "But not everyone wants it found." I leaned closer to the screen, studying the employment application Ava had submitted to our firm. Standard information, name, address, previous employment at a law firm in Chicago I'd never heard of. "Have you verified this?" I asked, pointing to the Chicago firm. "First thing I checked. The firm exists, but they have no record of an Ava Rice ever working there. The implications hit me like a physical blow. She lied on her application." "Which means Yusuf hired someone with falsified credentials," Kennedy added. "That could be useful." My mind raced. If Ava had lied about her work history, what else had she lied about? And why had Yusuf hired her without proper vetting? Unless... "I need to see when she was hired," I said suddenly. "The exact date." Kennedy pulled up the HR files. October 14th, 2021. I closed my eyes, the pieces clicking into place. That was the week I was in Boston for the Mercer trial. Yusuf handled all the hiring that month. "You think he knew?" Rebecca asked. "About her fake credentials?" "I think it's worth finding out." I opened my eyes, a new determination settling over me. "I need to talk to Isaiah." "Your former client?" Kennedy frowned. "The one with the hacking charges?" "The very same." I pulled out my phone. "He owes me a favor." Before I could dial, my phone lit up with a notification from the Nanny Cam app. Motion detected. We all froze, staring at my phone. I tapped the notification, and the video feed appeared. Yusuf was in our bedroom, but he wasn't alone. Ava was with him, sitting on our bed, my bed, watching as he packed. "Turn up the volume," Rebecca whispered, though there was no audio to hear. We watched in silence as Yusuf methodically emptied his closet, suits, shirts, shoes, all into expensive luggage I'd never seen before. Then he moved to the dresser, pulling out the bottom drawer, my drawer, and removing a small box. My grandmother's jewellery. "That bastard," I breathed. Ava said something, laughing. and Yusuf handed her the box. She opened it, held up my grandmother's sapphire necklace, and fastened it around her neck. My vision blurred with tears of rage. "I'm going home," I said, standing abruptly. "Now." Kennedy grabbed my arm. "No, you're not. That's exactly what they want. You, emotional and reactive. Give me your phone." "Kennedy." "This is evidence, Sadie." Her grip tightened. "Let them hang themselves." I sank back into my chair, trembling with fury and something else, a cold, clear purpose taking shape. "You're right," I said finally. "We need more than this." I looked at my friends, these women who dropped everything to help me, and made a decision. "I'm not just going to survive this," I told them. "I'm going to make them regret the day they ever thought they could take what's mine." Isaiah agreed to meet me at a coffee shop downtown, the kind with terrible coffee but excellent privacy. The kind of place where people mind their business because they're conducting business they don't want minded. "You look different," he said when I slid into the booth across from him. I hadn't seen Isaiah since his case concluded 6 months ago. I'd kept him out of prison for hacking into his ex-employer's system, ironically by proving the company had been hacking their own customers. "Different how?" I asked, though I knew. My eyes were harder, my posture tighter. Betrayal changes you physically, not just emotionally. "Like you've joined the club." He pushed a coffee toward me. "The someone screwed me over club. Membership's pretty exclusive." I wrapped my hands around the mug, absorbing its warmth. "I need your help, Isaiah." I figured this wasn't a social call. He leaned back, studying me. "What kind of help are we talking about? The legal kind or the other kind?" "The other kind." He nodded slowly. "The kind that got me in trouble." "The kind that got you out of trouble," I corrected. "I need information on someone who doesn't want to be found." I slid my phone across the table, showing him Ava's employment application. Isaiah glanced at it, then at me, his expression unreadable. "Your husband's girlfriend." My jaw tightened. News travelled fast. "Yes. And you want me to... what? Hack her email? Track her phone? Because I should remind you as my lawyer that those things are... I want you to find out who she really is," I interrupted. "Legal methods only. I'm not asking you to break any laws." Isaiah raised an eyebrow. "Then why come to me? You have investigators on retainer." "Because those investigators work for my firm, a firm my husband is currently trying to take from me." I leaned forward. "I need someone outside the system, someone who knows how to find what doesn't want to be found." He was quiet for a long moment, turning my phone in his hands. "This is personal for you." "Yes." "Revenge is a bad reason to do anything, Sadie. It's not about revenge." The words came out sharper than I intended. "It's about protection. I need to know what I'm dealing with." Isaiah studied me, his eyes skeptical. "You sure about that?" I wasn't, actually. The line between protection and revenge had blurred the moment I saw Ava wearing my grandmother's necklace, but Isaiah didn't need to know that. "I'm sure," I lied. He sighed, sliding my phone back. "I'll see what I can find. But Sadie, be careful. Digging into people's pasts, sometimes you find things you wish you hadn't." Rebecca was waiting at my house when I returned. She sat on the front steps, a bottle of wine beside her. "You could have gone inside," I said, climbing the steps. "You have a key." I wasn't sure if, she hesitated, if they might still be here. The thought of Yusuf and Ava in my home made my stomach clench. "They're gone. The nanny cam hasn't picked up movement in hours." I unlocked the door, bracing myself for what I might find. The house felt different, emptier, though nothing visible had changed in the living room. It was the energy that had shifted, as if the walls themselves knew their owner had abandoned them. "I checked upstairs while you were meeting Isaiah," Rebecca said, following me inside. "Yusuf took most of his clothes, his electronics, and some books. And my grandmother's jewellery." The memory of Ava trying on the necklace burned fresh. "I'm sorry, Sadie." I shrugged, aiming for nonchalance and missing by miles. "It's just stuff." "It's not just stuff." Rebecca set the wine on the coffee table. "It's your history, your memories." "Well, those are gone too." I sank onto the couch. "Did you check his office?" "Cleaned out. Files, computer, everything." I nodded, unsurprised. Yusuf was nothing if not thorough. What about the safe? Rebecca's eyes widened slightly. What safe? I stood, moving to the painting in the hallway, a mediocre landscape Yusuf had insisted on hanging. Behind it was a wall safe I'd installed when we first bought the house. He doesn't know about this one, I said, entering the combination. It's where I keep the important things. The safe swung open, revealing several folders, a USB drive, and a small velvet pouch. I removed the pouch first, opening it to reveal my mother's wedding ring. At least he didn't get everything, I murmured. I took out the USB drive next, turning it over in my hand. This has copies of all our financial records for the past 5 years, every account, every transaction. Smart, Rebecca said. Paranoid, I corrected. My parents lost everything when my father got sick. I swore I'd never be financially vulnerable. I plugged the drive into my laptop, scrolling through the files. Bank statements, investment accounts, tax returns, all meticulously organized by year and type. What are you looking for? Rebecca asked, peering over my shoulder. Patterns, I said, opening a spreadsheet from last year. Specifically, when things started changing. I found it in the April statements, a cash withdrawal of $5,000 from our joint account. Nothing unusual there. We both made cash withdrawals occasionally. But the next month showed another $5,000, and then again in June. By October, the withdrawals had increased to $10,000 monthly. He's been planning this for over a year, I whispered, the realization like ice in my veins. Taking cash so it wouldn't be traceable. Rebecca squeezed my shoulder. Sadie. My phone rang, cutting her off. Isaiah. That was fast, I answered. We need to meet, he said, his voice tight. Now. Did you find something? Not over the phone, Sadie. A pause. And come alone. He hung up before I could respond. What is it? Rebecca asked, noting my expression. I stared at the phone, a strange mixture of dread and anticipation coursing through me. Isaiah found something about Ava, something he won't discuss on the phone. That can't be good. No, I agreed, grabbing my keys, but it might be useful. As I headed for the door, Rebecca called after me. Sadie. Whatever you're planning, remember who you are. I turned back, meeting her worried gaze. That's exactly the problem, Rebecca, I said quietly. I'm not sure I know anymore. Isaiah wasn't at the coffee shop this time. He'd texted an address, a park bench overlooking the river. Public enough to be safe, private enough to talk. The kind of place people choose when they're about to share something dangerous. He was already there when I arrived, hunched forward, elbows on knees. He didn't look up as I approached. Isaiah? Sit down, Sadie. His voice was flat, controlled. I sat beside him, the chill of the metal bench seeping through my clothes. What did you find? He handed me a manila folder. Ava Rice doesn't exist, at least not until 4 years ago. I opened the folder. Inside was a driver's license with Ava's photo, but a different name. Melissa Winters. She changed her identity, I said, studying the license. Why? Keep reading. The next document was a newspaper clipping from a small town in Oregon. The headline made my breath catch. Local woman charged in embezzlement scheme. The article detailed how Melissa Winters, office manager at a law firm, had been arrested for stealing nearly $200,000 from client trust accounts. There was a mugshot, definitely Ava, though with darker hair and a harder expression. She's done this before, I whispered. Isaiah nodded grimly. 3 times that I could find. Different names, different states, but same pattern. She gets hired at a law firm, works her way into a position of trust, then disappears with as much money as she can take. My mind raced. And Yusuf? Is he involved? That's where it gets interesting. Isaiah took the folder back, flipping to another document. I found this in archived emails from her previous identity. It was a printed email exchange between Melissa Winters and someone using an anonymous email address. The messages discussed target selection, methodology, and split percentages. She works with a partner, I realized, someone who helps her identify vulnerable firms and gain access. Someone like a lawyer who knows the system from the inside, Isaiah confirmed. I can't prove it's Yusuf. The emails are too careful, no names, no specific locations. But the timing? What about the timing? The last email in this exchange was sent 3 weeks before Ava Rice applied to your firm. And look at the language. He pointed to a line in the email. Target secured. Initiation phase begins next month. Cold clarity washed over me. They targeted us. Me. It looks that way. I stood abruptly, needing to move, to breathe. The implications crashed through me like waves. Yusuf hadn't just cheated. He'd conspired, planned, used me. Sadie? Isaiah's voice seemed distant. There's more. I turned back to him. More? They're planning something now. Something big. He handed me one final document. A bank statement for an account I didn't recognize. This is a shell company registered last month. 2 days after your husband filed for divorce, $500,000 was transferred into it. From where? That's the problem. I can't trace it. Isaiah stood, joining me. But based on her pattern, I'd guess it's client money. Your clients. The ground seemed to shift beneath me. If Yusuf and Ava had stolen from client trust accounts, it wouldn't just be my reputation at stake. I could lose my license, face criminal charges. I need to go, I said suddenly. I need to check the accounts. Isaiah caught my arm. Sadie, wait. If they've already moved the money, going in guns blazing could tip them off. You need to be strategic. Strategic? I laughed bitterly. While they're stealing from my clients? While they're setting me up to take the fall? Yes. His grip tightened. Because if you're right, if they're stealing and planning to frame you, then rushing in is exactly what they want. You need proof before you make accusations. I pulled away, anger and fear churning inside me. And how do I get that proof without alerting them? You have me. He said it simply, as if offering to help move furniture, not investigate financial fraud. Why would you risk this if you're caught hacking financial records? Because you believed me when no one else did. He shrugged, uncomfortable with the sentiment. And because I hate seeing people get away with this shit. I studied him, this man I'd defended but never really known. This could get complicated, Isaiah. Life's complicated. A small smile touched his lips. Besides, I'm good at what I do. My phone buzzed with a text from Kennedy. Emergency at the office. Come now. I have to go, I told Isaiah, showing him the message. The office. I'll keep digging, he promised. Be careful, Sadie. These people play for keeps. I could hear the shouting from the elevator. Kennedy's voice, sharp and angry, and another voice. Male, familiar. Yusuf. I pushed through the glass doors of our firm to find them squared off in the reception area, Kennedy blocking the hallway to the offices, Yusuf red-faced and gesturing. You have no right to lock me out, he was saying. My name is on the lease. Your name is on a lot of things that don't belong to you, Kennedy shot back. They both turned as I entered. Kennedy's face showed relief. Yusuf's flickered with something else. Calculation, then a smooth transition to wounded dignity. Sadie, he said, softening his voice. Tell your attack dog to back down. I just need to get some files from my office. I looked at my husband, this stranger wearing a familiar face, and felt something shift inside me. The shock and pain were still there, but beneath them something harder had formed. Something cold and clear and focused. Your office, I repeated. You mean the office in the firm you abandoned? The firm you're trying to destroy? He blinked, surprised by my tone. I don't know what Kennedy's been telling you, but... Stop. I held up a hand. Just stop, Yusuf. I know about Ava. Or should I call her Melissa? His face went perfectly still, just for a moment, but long enough. He knew. I don't know what you're talking about, he said carefully. I think you do. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. And I think you should know that if anything happens to this firm, or its clients, I will bury you both. Not just professionally, completely. Something flickered in his eyes, uncertainty, maybe even fear. Good. You're making a mistake, Sadie, he said quietly. This doesn't have to be ugly. You made it ugly the moment you decided to betray me. I nodded toward the door. Now get out of my firm. He hesitated, then gathered his dignity around him like a cloak. My lawyer will be in touch. I'm counting on it. After he left, Kennedy turned to me, eyes wide. What the hell was that? And who is Melissa? I took a deep breath, the adrenaline still coursing through me. We need to check the trust accounts, all of them, right now. Sadie, what's going on? I met her gaze steadily. I think Yusuf and Ava are planning to steal from our clients and frame me for it, and I think we might already be too late to stop them. $3 million. The number glowed on the computer screen like an accusation. $3 million missing from our client trust accounts, transferred through a maze of shell companies over the past month. How did we not catch this? Kennedy whispered, her face pale in the glow of the monitor. We'd been in the office for 6 hours, combing through every account, every transaction. The conference room looked like a war zone. Empty coffee cups, scattered papers, the desperation of people fighting a battle they were already losing. Because it was done with authorized credentials, I said, rubbing my eyes. My credentials. That was the most elegant part of their plan. All the transfers had been executed using my login information, creating a perfect digital trail leading directly to me. We need to call the police, Kennedy said. And tell them what? That my husband stole client money using my account? I laughed bitterly. They'll arrest me, not him. Then the Bar Association, the Ethics Committee. Same problem. I stood, needing to move, to think. We need proof it wasn't me. Proof that Yusuf and Ava did this. Kennedy watched me pace, her expression troubled. And if we can't get that proof? The question hung in the air between us. We both knew what it meant. Without proof, I'd lose everything, my license, my freedom, my future. Then I'll take the fall, I said finally. It's my firm, my responsibility. That's bullshit, Sadie. Kennedy slammed her hand on the table. I'm not letting you sacrifice yourself for his crimes. My phone buzzed with a text from Isaiah. Found something. Your office. 20 minutes. Isaiah's coming, I told Kennedy. He might have something. She frowned. You trust him with this? We barely know him. I know enough. I gathered the scattered financial records into a folder, and right now we need all the help we can get. Isaiah arrived carrying a laptop and a grim expression. He sat up at the conference table without a word, fingers flying across the keyboard. Tell me you have good news, I said. Define good. He turned the screen toward us. I tracked the money. Most of it's been moved offshore, but about $500,000 is still sitting in an account under the name Phoenix Consulting. Can we get it back? Not without a court order. He pulled up another window. But that's not the interesting part. Look who owns Phoenix Consulting. The document showed the company registration. The owner's name made my blood run cold. Sadie Hansen. They put it in my name, I whispered. It gets worse. Isaiah clicked through to another screen. The account was set up using your social security number, your date of birth. They have everything, Sadie. Kennedy swore under her breath. Identity theft on top of embezzlement. They're thorough. They've done this before, I reminded her. They know how to cover their tracks. Isaiah nodded. And they're planning to leave town. I found flight reservations to the Cayman Islands for tomorrow night. 2 passengers. We need to stop them, Kennedy said. How? I demanded. We have no proof they did this. Everything points to me. Isaiah cleared his throat. Actually, that might not be entirely true. We both turned to him. I've been monitoring Ava's email, he admitted. Most of it's encrypted, but she slipped up. She sent a message to Yusuf from her personal account this morning. He pulled up the email. It was brief, just a few lines. Everything's in place. S's credentials worked perfectly. Remaining transfers complete by noon tomorrow. Meet at the usual place at 7 to finalize exit strategy. This is it, Kennedy breathed. This proves they did it. It proves they're planning something, I corrected. But it's not enough. We need more. What more do you need? Kennedy demanded. They stole $3 million using your identity. And a good lawyer, like Thomas Michaels, would argue this email is too vague to prove anything. I shook my head. We need them to incriminate themselves explicitly. We need a confession. Isaiah leaned back, studying me. You're thinking about the usual place, setting a trap. Yes. The plan was forming in my mind, dangerous but clear. If I can get them to talk about what they've done, record it somehow. That's insane, Kennedy interrupted, and probably illegal. Recordings made without consent are inadmissible in court, I finished for her. But they might be enough to get the police to investigate, to freeze the accounts before the money disappears completely. Or they might get you killed, Kennedy countered. These people have already shown they'll do anything for money. I looked at the email again, at the casual way they discussed destroying my life. 3 years of marriage, and Yusuf could betray me without hesitation. The pain of that knowledge had hardened into something else now, a cold, clear purpose. I need to know where they're meeting, I told Isaiah. Can you find out? He hesitated. Probably. But Kennedy's right, Sadie. This is dangerous. More dangerous than prison? I asked quietly. More dangerous than losing everything I've worked for? Neither of them answered. My phone rang. Rebecca. I stepped away to answer. Sadie? Her voice was tight with worry. Arthur just called. Yusuf reached out to him. What? Why? He wants to meet. Says he has a proposition for Arthur. She paused. Arthur thinks it's about buying your share of the firm. He's stalling, but... A chill ran through me. When does he want to meet? Tonight, 7 o'clock at the Overlook. The Overlook. An upscale restaurant on the river where Yusuf and I had celebrated our anniversaries, where he'd proposed. The usual place, I whispered. What? Nothing. My mind was racing. Tell Arthur to agree to the meeting, but he needs to be late. Very late. Sadie, what are you planning? I looked back at Kennedy and Isaiah, still arguing about risks and evidence. I'm going to get my confession, I said. And I'm going to make Yusuf and Ava regret the day they ever thought they could take what's mine. As I hung up, I felt something settle inside me. A terrible, perfect clarity. There would be no turning back after tonight. I was counting on it. The Overlook hadn't changed. Same soft lighting, same river view, same quiet hum of expensive conversation. I'd loved this place once. Now it felt like returning to the scene of a crime. I chose a table in the corner angled to see the entrance but partially hidden by a decorative pillar. The recording device Isaiah had given me pressed against my ribs, tucked into the inner pocket of my blazer. One button to activate, he'd explained. One chance to get it right. Can I get you something to drink while you wait? The server asked. Just water, thank you. My mouth was already dry enough. Kennedy had wanted to come, to sit at a nearby table as backup. I'd refused. This needed to be clean. Just me, Yusuf, and Ava. Just the truth, finally. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. Arthur's ready. He'll call Yusuf at 7:15 to say he's running late. Perfect. That would give me 15 minutes alone with them. At 6:55, they arrived. Yusuf entered first, scanning the restaurant with the confident ease of someone who belongs everywhere. Ava followed, her hand on his arm, wearing a sleek black dress and, my breath caught, my grandmother's sapphire necklace. They were seated at a table by the window, the one Yusuf always requested, the one where he'd proposed. I watched them order drinks, their heads bent close together, sharing some private joke. My husband and his accomplice, celebrating their victory before it was complete. At 7:05, I stood. My legs felt strangely steady as I crossed the restaurant. Neither of them noticed me until I was at their table. Mind if I join you? I asked. Yusuf's head snapped up, shock flashing across his face before he controlled it. Sadie, what are you doing here? Waiting for Arthur, same as you. I pulled out a chair and sat, though I suspect we have different agendas for that meeting. Ava's hand moved to her throat, fingers touching the sapphire necklace. Not nervous, protective. This is a private dinner. Is it? I smiled thinly. I thought it was business. Phoenix Consulting business, perhaps? The flash of alarm in Yusuf's eyes was worth every second of pain he'd caused me. I don't know what you're talking about, he said carefully. No, I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. $3 million from client trust accounts, transferred using my credentials, a company registered in my name, flight reservations to the Cayman Islands. Should I continue? Ava's eyes darted to Yusuf, seeking direction. He maintained his composure, but I could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Those are serious accusations, he said finally, especially coming from someone who's clearly emotionally unstable after a divorce. We both know I'm not unstable, Yusuf, just inconvenient. I reached for his water glass, took a sip. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Do? He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. There's nothing to do. You have no proof of anything. Don't I? I set down the glass. Melissa. Ava flinched as if I'd slapped her. That's right, I continued. I know who you are. Oregon 2018, Denver 2020, and now here. Same scam, different names. You're delusional, Ava hissed, but her fingers were white around her clutch. Am I? I turned back to Yusuf. Did you know about her past when you hired her, or did you find out later when you decided to become partners in more ways than one? Yusuf's jaw tightened. Sadie, you're making a scene. No, I'm making a point. I leaned closer. I know what you've done. I know you're planning to disappear with my client's money, and I know you think you've covered your tracks. If you knew anything, Yusuf said quietly, you'd have gone to the police. Maybe I have. His eyes narrowed. You haven't, because there's nothing to find that doesn't lead back to you. There it was. Not quite a confession, but close. So that was the plan, I asked. Frame me for the embezzlement. Buy my share of the firm from Arthur for pennies while I'm fighting criminal charges, then disappear with the money. There is no plan, Yusuf insisted, but his eyes flickered to Ava again. It's a good plan, I admitted. Elegant, using my login, my identity, making the transfers look like they came from me. I paused. There's just one problem. And what's that? Ava asked, unable to help herself. You got greedy. I nodded toward the necklace. Taking my grandmother's jewelry? That was personal. That made it about hurting me, not just about the money. I don't know what— Stop lying, I cut her off. It's boring and we don't have much time. Arthur will be calling soon to say he's running late. Yusuf went very still. How do you know that? Because I told him to, I smiled. Did you really think he'd sell me out? Arthur's been my friend for 15 years. He was at our wedding, Yusuf. He held your bachelor party. Something shifted in Yusuf's expression, the first flicker of uncertainty. What do you want? He asked finally. A confession. I kept my voice steady. Admit what you've done. Return the money. Walk away. Ava laughed, high and brittle. Or what? You have nothing. I have this. I pulled out my phone, showing them the email Isaiah had found. And I have the offshore account numbers, the flight reservations, the company registration with my forged signature. Circumstantial, Yusuf dismissed, but I could see the calculation in his eyes. Maybe. I leaned back. But it's enough to start an investigation, enough to freeze the accounts until the truth comes out, enough to keep you from disappearing with my client's money. Yusuf's phone rang. Arthur, right on schedule. He silenced it without looking away from me. You're bluffing, he said quietly. Am I? I stood, buttoning my blazer. The recording device pressed against my ribs, still running. I guess we'll find out tomorrow when the FBI shows up at your door. I turned to leave, counting silently. 1, 2, 3. Wait. I paused, not turning around. What if we could make a deal? Yusuf asked, his voice lower now. The money goes back. No one has to know. I turned slowly, meeting his eyes. Say it. Say what? Say what you did. I want to hear you admit it. Ava started to speak, but Yusuf silenced her with a look. Fine, he said. We took the money. We used your login, your identity. We were going to disappear and let you take the fall. His voice hardened. Happy now? I felt nothing. No triumph, no vindication. Just a hollow space where love had been. The necklace, I said, looking at Ava. Take it off. Her hand went to her throat. No. Take it off, I repeated. Or I walk out that door and call the FBI right now. With trembling fingers, she unclasped the necklace, dropping it on the table between us. I picked it up, the sapphire cool against my palm. My grandmother's voice seemed to whisper from it. You are stronger than you know. The money will be returned by noon tomorrow, I said, slipping the necklace into my pocket. All of it, or the recording of this conversation goes to the police. Yusuf's eyes widened. What recording? I smiled, my finger finding the button on the device. This one. The soft click was barely audible, but in the silence between us, it sounded like a thunderclap. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I sat in my living room, the recording device on the coffee table in front of me, replaying Yusuf's confession until his voice became just noise, stripped of its power to hurt me. By dawn, I'd made my decision. Kennedy arrived first, then Rebecca, then Isaiah. They found me making coffee in the kitchen, still wearing yesterday's clothes, my eyes gritty with exhaustion, but my mind clear. Did they return the money? Kennedy asked, without preamble. I handed her a printout of the bank transfers. Every penny, completed an hour ago. Jesus. She scanned the document. They actually did it. They had no choice. I poured coffee into mugs, my movements mechanical. The recording gave them no way out. So it's over, Rebecca said, relief evident in her voice. You won. I didn't answer immediately, passing out the coffee instead. The morning light streamed through the kitchen windows, catching dust motes in its beam. Outside, a neighbor walked her dog. Normal life continuing as if nothing had changed. Sadie? Isaiah prompted. What are you thinking? I took a breath. I'm thinking about what winning really means. They exchanged glances, sensing something in my tone. The money's back, Kennedy said slowly. You have proof they tried to frame you. What more do you want? Justice. I met her eyes. Real justice, not just for me. Isaiah leaned forward. You're going to the police. It wasn't a question, but I nodded anyway. This morning, with the recording, the financial records, everything. But you got what you wanted, Rebecca protested. Why risk it? Because it's not just about me. I gripped my mug tighter. Yusuf and Ava have done this before. They'll do it again if they get away with it. To someone else's firm, someone else's clients. You don't owe those hypothetical people anything, Kennedy argued. And taking this to the police means everything becomes public. The firm's reputation will survive, I finished for her. Because we did nothing wrong. Because we caught the fraud and returned the money before any clients were harmed. Kennedy shook her head. It's not that simple. The publicity alone could... It is that simple, I interrupted. We're lawyers, Kennedy. We believe in the law, or we should. What message does it send if I use that recording just to save myself and then let them walk away? The room fell silent. I could see them wrestling with it. The practical versus the principled. Safety versus justice. There's something else, I added quietly. Something I haven't told you. I pulled out my phone, opened an email Isaiah had forwarded me late last night. Before Ava, before Melissa, there was another identity, another firm. I handed the phone to Kennedy. The lawyer who caught them that time didn't go public, took the money back and let them leave town. Kennedy read the email, her expression darkening. They stole from client accounts meant for a children's cancer charity. Yes, I took the phone back, and 2 years later they did it again in Denver, and now here. It doesn't stop unless someone stops them. Rebecca touched my arm. Are you sure about this? Once you go to the police, there's no turning back. I'm sure. For the first time in days, I felt certain. I need to do this. Not for revenge, for justice. Then we're with you, Isaiah said simply. Kennedy sighed but nodded her agreement. All the way. Thank you. I looked at each of them, these people who'd stood by me through the worst days of my life. But there's one more thing I need to do first. Alone. The divorce papers waited on my kitchen table. Yusuf's lawyer had delivered them the day after the restaurant confrontation. Standard boilerplate, nothing vindictive. A clean break, just as he'd promised that first night. I'd read them carefully, looking for traps, for hidden clauses. There were none, just the dissolution of 7 years of marriage, reduced to legal terminology and signature lines. My pen hovered over the paper. One signature and it would be done. Legally, at least. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Arthur on my porch, looking uncertain. "Rebecca said you might need a friend," he explained. I stepped back to let him in. "I'm signing the papers." He nodded, following me to the kitchen. "Are you okay?" "No." I picked up the pen again. "But I will be." Arthur watched as I signed each flagged page, his presence steady and undemanding. When I reached the final signature line, I paused. "I loved him," I said, the words catching in my throat. "Even after everything, some part of me still—" "I know," Arthur's voice was gentle. "That's what makes you different from him." I signed my name one last time, then set down the pen. "It's done." "Not quite." Arthur reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. "Rebecca asked me to give you this." "After." Inside was a single key and an address I didn't recognize. "What is this?" "A cabin," he explained. "On the lake. Rebecca's family owns it. She thought you might want somewhere quiet to go after the police." The simple kindness of it, this offering of sanctuary, broke something loose inside me. Not grief, exactly. Something lighter. "Tell her thank you," I said, closing my fingers around the key. "But I think I need to stay, to see this through." Arthur nodded, understanding. "And after?" "After?" I looked around the kitchen, the home I'd built, the life I'd planned. None of it what I'd expected, but all of it mine. "After I rebuild. On my terms this time." I gathered the signed papers, slid them into their envelope. One chapter closing, another beginning. "You know what the strangest part is?" I said, sealing the envelope. "I thought losing him would destroy me. I thought he was essential, like oxygen. And now?" I smiled. A real smile, the first in what felt like forever. "Now I know better. He wasn't oxygen. He was just a man who couldn't see what he had." I placed the divorce papers on the counter, ready to be delivered, ready to be finished. "And what I had," I said, "was always more than enough.